my favorite JRPG of all time, Tokyo Extreme Racer, F1 Racing Championship, and Taxi 2. However, it was on the PlayStation 2 that Ubisoft would find its identity. While they were still publishing great games like FromSoft's Armored Core 2 and Eternal Ring and Snowblind Studios' Champions of Norath, it was during this time that Ubisoft acquired the license to use Tom Clancy's stories and name in a series of games with Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon and later Splinter Cell taking the stage. After this, Ubisoft went on a blitz with original titles, quickly rolling out sequel after sequel. Splinter Cell kicked it off in 2003 with Pandora Tomorrow in 2004, Chaos Theory in 2005, Double Agent in 2006. Ghost Recon launched in 2002. It had a sequel in 2004, a next version of it with Advanced Warfighter in 2006, Advanced Warfighter 2 in 2007. Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time came out in 2003, and yep, just like the others, it saw rapid follow-ups with Warrior Within in 2004 and Two Thrones in 2005. Around the mid-2000s, Ubisoft must have realized that this rapid pace was not sustainable, and it started to affect the quality of their games. Later releases took longer. The next Prince of Persia game didn't appear until 2008, and it took 4 years to develop the next Far Cry game from the original that came out in 2004. Despite this intense schedule, Ubisoft was holding its own against rivals in Activision with its military shooters and competing against Konami's Metal Gear Solid and Splinter Cell. Regardless of their success in publishing, developing licensed IPs, and military shooters, it was the release of Assassin's Creed in 2007 that sent Ubisoft into orbit, and it bridged a gap with a title that appealed to audiences worldwide. There was nothing like it in the market at the time. This game was an enigma. It was far and away the best-looking game on consoles. Its fluid movement, parkour, and combat felt alien. Its setting of reliving our ancestors' memories while we chase a relic to try to stop the shadow government Templars was fresh and original. Assassin's Creed defined modern gaming at the time, and it made Ubisoft a household name. Ubisoft was everywhere at this time. You'd be hard-pressed not to turn on your console or turn on your PC and see that logo pop up. And it wasn't just the games that they were making, it was the games that they were publishing. They had such a good eye for talent, such a good eye for great games. And as a result, they made a ton of money. I mean, they published Morrowind. I didn't even know that. I was going through some of the history of all the different games that they had published over the years, and I was sitting back going, like, man, these guys are raking in cash at the time. But it wasn't just those games as well. It was also the successes that they were seeing with the games that they were making. They had such a fresh and high-quality outlook on all of the games that they were creating. They were really leaning into presentation more than anything else. They wanted to make sure that their games just looked the best, hands down, bar none, no competition. And they pulled it off. Advanced Warfighter 1 and 2 were some of my favorite shooters of all time. Even kind of more than some of the Call of Duty games at the time. They're likely the games that ended up inspiring Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1 and 2. You look at Splinter Cell and Metal Gear Solid, they leaned really hard into the stealth aspects, the spy aspects of those kind of games, and as a result, they found their own following and gave a really unique experience that you weren't getting from the Metal Gear Solid games. While the narrative wasn't nearly as strong, it was still pretty good, but the gameplay was completely different. Then you bring out Assassin's Creed, and that just took their quality to a completely different level. At this point, with Ubisoft, if you're buying one of their games, 9 times out of 10, you were going to have your socks knocked off. They were incredible experiences, and Ubisoft knew that. They capitalized on it, and they profited. Following the release of Assassin's Creed in 2007, Ubisoft entered into a golden era that solidified their place as one of the leaders in the AAA industry. The success of Assassin's Creed was not just a one-off hit. It became a flagship franchise that grew in scope and ambition with each installment. Assassin's Creed 2 in 2009 expanded upon the original's foundations with deeper gameplay mechanics, a more engaging narrative, and a charismatic protagonist in Ezio Auditore, still the best protagonist in all of Assassin's Creed. The game was a commercial and critical success, selling over 9 million copies and becoming one of the most celebrated entries in the entire series. The success continued with Assassin's Creed Brotherhood in 2010 and Assassin's Creed Revelations in 2011. In combination with this, Ubisoft was experiencing major successes with their Far Cry series. Far Cry 3 in 2012 was a groundbreaking title that redefined open-world gaming. It introduced vast, explorable islands filled with diverse environments and a gripping story and one of the most memorable protagonists in all of gaming history. And I think that character shows just how far Ubisoft today has fallen from where they came from. No shot Ubisoft ever makes a villain like this again.
I'll do my best.
Sorry, what did you say?
Where to, Commander?
What did you say? Did you want me to slice you open like I did your friend? Shut the fuck up! Okay? I'm the one with the fucking dick. Look at me. Look me in the fucking eye. Hey! You fuck! Look me in the eye.
Civilian research complete.
You're my bitch.
Stand by for phase jump.
Far Cry 3 sold over 10 million copies and was lauded as one of the best games of the generation, setting a new benchmark for open-world shooters. The series continued to thrive with Far Cry 4 in 2014 and Far Cry 5 in 2018, each expanding on the franchise's formula with new mechanics and narratives. By 2018, Far Cry 5 became the fastest-selling title in Ubisoft's history, moving over 5 million copies within the first week, solidifying the franchise's place in history. In parallel with the success that they had going on with the Far Cry series, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege initially launched to a modest reception, but through consistent updates and community engagement, it has now grown into one of the most popular and enduring multiplayer shooters, even still today. By 2018, Rainbow Six Siege had amassed over 30 million players. Tom Clancy's The Division in 2016 was another major hit, offering a compelling blend of third-person shooting and RPG mechanics set in a post-apocalyptic New York. It was Ubisoft's fastest-selling new IP at launch, earning $330 million in sales within the first week. It showcased Ubisoft's ability to successfully launch a new IP while still being able to maintain their existing franchises. If we take a snapshot of the successes from 2000 to 2018, we see a Ubisoft that was consistently delivering on high-quality experiences while innovating within existing franchises, creating new franchises, doing all kinds of things. At the exact same time, we also see a foreboding trend. The minute that they see a game become successful, they hammer that nail again and again and again. Sometimes within such quick succession that we're seeing sequels with games within year to year to year to year, back to back to back to back, and then they stop. And that's going to take a toll, not only on the developers, but also on the audiences.
Commander? Transmission received.
By 2018, Ubisoft was worth $24 a share. It was the highest price. It's still the highest price that they've ever been worth. And in that, that's the perfect reflection, whether you care about share prices or not, it's the perfect reflection of what the company was worth at the time. 10 times the value that they were before they released Assassin's Creed. They were swimming in cash. They were so successful. They were massive. But when you reach those peaks, there tends to be a trend that follows. And they've been following that trend straight into the ground. As Ubisoft entered into 2018, the cracks in its previously successful formula began to show. While the company had relied on its major franchises to drive growth and maintain its position within the industry, the strategy began to falter. The initial decline of this period can largely be attributed to Ubisoft's over-reliance on its established franchises, a pattern that we've seen with many major publishers. The once groundbreaking mechanics and narratives that defined Ubisoft's titles were beginning to feel repetitive, leading to players feeling bored and fatigued with Ubisoft's design. I'll be honest, by the third Assassin's Creed, I had already tapped out because I felt like I saw the writing on the wall. Every time I watched any of their reveals or trailers, I said, yeah, I've done all this before. This over-reliance on existing franchises resulted in a slew of releases that, while still commercially viable, lacked the innovative spark that once defined the company. Assassin's Creed Odyssey in 2018 was a prime example of this issue. Despite it being a commercial success and receiving positive reviews, it didn't quite reach the heights of previous entries in the series. While it expanded upon RPG elements that were introduced in Assassin's Creed Origins, players and critics alike felt that the formula was becoming stale, with the vast majority of the open world and numerous side activities feeling more like a checklist rather than an engaging experience. This propagated a shared perception between players and critics of more of the same. Ubisoft games were becoming predictable, drawn out, and boring. Far Cry New Dawn in 2019 suffered from the exact same issues. As a direct sequel to Far Cry 5, it attempted to build on the narrative and setting, but was seen as more of an expansion than a full-fledged new installment. The game was a commercial success to a degree, but it didn't match the sales or the impact of Far Cry 3 or Far Cry 4. The narrative was considered weaker, the post-apocalyptic setting, while a new direction for the series, didn't really resonate strongly with the player base. This underwhelming reception was indicative of a larger issue: the lack of fresh ideas and a growing formulaic approach to game design.
Attack!
Another notable release during this period was The Division 2 in
Let 'em have
2019. Now, this game was
Good
well
day,
received.
Commander.
It had refined mechanics over the first game, the endgame
Deploying.
content was really engaging, and it was twice the size, if not larger,
active.
than the first game.
I won't let you
However,
down.
despite its reception, it didn't meet
I'll do my
Ubisoft's
best.
high sales expectations. The live service
Yes,
model
sir.
that they had
I'm
injected
on it.
into the game
Give
arbitrarily,
the order.
while
I
successful
won't
in
let you
Rainbow Six
down.
Siege, did not effectively translate into The Division 2. This is partly due to market saturation,
sir.
as other players
Attack!
are more invested in
Good
other
day,
live service
Commander.
games, but from my perspective as a
home
fan
world.
from Division 2, the live service model just didn't work here. It felt generic.
now?
In a game where you're
I'm on
finding
it.
loot, and that's the gameplay loop, the last thing that you want to do is buy things to wear. You want to stand out for your achievements in the game, not how much you spent on loot boxes.
Commerce upgrade complete.
This pattern of diminishing
Give one
returns,
us over
poorly
with your
implemented
fancy
monetization, and
words.
loss of connection with the players is a common issue for companies that heavily
Scouts have
rely on
found a
their existing
colonizable
franchises.
planet.
While sequels and spin-offs can capitalize on established fan bases, they also run the risk of alienating players by offering experiences
Ready
that
for
feel all too
battle.
familiar, or injecting things into those experiences that make them, well, just something the players don't want to engage with whatsoever. Ubisoft's reliance on its core franchises like Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Tom Clancy games led to a perception that the company was
I'll
simply
make this
reusing
short
the same
and
templates with
sweet.
minor tweaks and
Got a
adding
job for me?
monetization. This
Shields
lack
down,
of innovation
Commander.
and
What
growing
now?
similarities between their titles resulted in players being less excited about their new games, and they began to
Comlink
see
active.
Ubisoft games as
Start
formulaic
making
in
your dinner
design,
plans.
with sprawling
This
open
won't
worlds
take
filled with
long.
repetitive tasks rather than
Ready
unique
for
and
battle.
engaging
Targets
experiences.
in sight.
And I think that's the most
Let's
troubling
take
thing when
'em
it comes to
out.
Ubisoft. It's their
Civilian research
aversion to
complete.
criticism. Get that away
Got a
from me.
job
And
for me?
they're not alone
Yes,
in that,
sir.
okay?
I
There's
won't
plenty of
let
other
you down.
studios and
Let 'em
journalists
have
that
it.
are out there that feel
Ready
the
for
same way.
battle.
Don't listen to the gamers,
Good
those
day,
angry
Commander.
gamers. They don't know
Yes,
anything. And
Commander,
look, I
at
get it.
once.
Well, 9 times out of 10,
Commerce
players
upgrade
don't know how to
complete.
voice their criticisms
I won't let you
effectively.
down.
Oftentimes, they're just being mean when they say things. They're still telling you that something's wrong with your games and you need to fix it. But year after year, Ubisoft has completely failed to listen
Ready
to any
for
criticism,
battle.
whether that's coming
Scouts
from
have found a
professional critics
colonizable
or the
planet.
players. People have been saying for years how formulaic their design is, how
Got
how
a job
scary
for me?
predictable their
I'll do
games
my
are.
best.
I know that if I log into an open world Ubisoft game, it's just going to be a
Ready for
checklist
orders.
simulator.
Transmission
Everybody still
received.
remembers when
Comlink
their developers took to
active.
Twitter to criticize Elden Ring of all games for its
Yes,
open
Commander,
world
at
design, its
once.
quest design,
Give
and
the order.
its
I'm on it.
UI. How the fuck do you do that? That's the best game that we've had.
Insufficient
One of the
metal.
best games that we've had in the last decade. Why wouldn't you look at a game like that, look at the success that it sees, and say, we need to internalize some of the things that this game did well, why
Comlink
players liked it,
active.
and then reflect
That's
that in
more
our
like
games
it.
going forward.
Ready for orders.
That's how you make better products. You learn from your competition, learn from the games
Good
that do
day,
well,
Commander.
instead of looking at it,
Yes,
wanting to
Commander,
criticize it,
at
and trying to
once.
make excuses why you
Go
think that your games
ahead.
are better.
Yes,
Play Assassin's
Commander.
Creed instead.
Ready for battle.
Fuck that.
Yes, Commander. At
Look,
once.
Ubisoft had a bit of a
Logistics
resurgence
upgrade
in
complete.
2018 to 2019, and it looked like they were getting back on the horse. It looked like they were listening to player feedback, they were implementing in their games, it was making better games as a result, they were making a lot of money, but that only lasted for
Got
so
a job
long.
for me? Ready
After a period of
for
declining
orders.
interest and fatigue,
Transmission
Ubisoft
received.
managed to stage a bit of a
Ready
resurgence
for
in
battle.
2019 and 2020
Easily
by
done.
revisiting some of their core
where to,
franchises with a
Commander?
renewed focus and
Yes,
experimenting with some
Commander.
fresh ideas. Now, who thought something like that could actually have a positive impact on your sales? One of the most significant releases during this
Stand
time was
by for
Assassin's
phase
Creed
jump.
Valhalla in 2020. Now, this
Transmission
game was a
received.
commercial hit, selling more
Yes,
copies during its
Commander.
launch week than any other previous Assassin's Creed title. It received
Deploying.
praise for its engaging narrative, improved combat mechanics, and rich historical setting.
Comlink
Valhalla
active.
revitalized interest
Fire
in the
at will.
series. It showed that
What now?
Ubisoft could make
Attack.
changes. However,
Scouts have found a
that isn't to say
colonizable
that
planet.
players' complaints didn't remain the same. Many reviewers and
Give the
players
order.
lamented over
I
the
won't
length
let
of the
you down.
game, and while
do
Valhalla
my
introduced
best.
some innovative elements, territory arcs as well as the narrative
Yes,
just
sir.
dragged on for far too long. The game's average completion time was over 60 hours, and 100% completion was nearing over 200 hours. No matter what you do,
Good
elements
day,
that were praised at the
Commander.
beginning of the
I'll
game are
make
going to
short
start to
work
feel
out of 'em.
repetitive, and it's just yet again going to feel
Shields
like a
down,
checklist
Commander.
of tasks.
What now?
In the same year, they released Watch Dogs
Mining
Legions,
upgrade
which attempted to
complete.
innovate with its play-as-anyone mechanic, allowing the player to recruit and control virtually any character in the entire game world.
Keep me
While the game
defying
received
purchase.
mixed reception due to some
No
technical issues and a
reasons.
less than compelling
No
story than we've
armor.
seen from its predecessors, it sold
Easily
relatively
done.
well. And it showed that the company was willing to take some risks and explore
Get
some
the
new
order.
concepts with existing franchises.
Targets in sight.
Immortals Phoenix
Let's
Rising in
take 'em
2020
out.
was another one of those
Got a
key
job for
releases
me?
that showed
Scouts
Ubisoft
have found
had
a
a
colonizable
willingness to
planet.
experiment and even come out with some new
Comlink active.
IPs. The game
Start
offered a
making your
vibrant and
dinner
humorous
plans.
take on Greek
This
mythology
won't
combined with
take
open world
long.
exploration and
Ready
puzzle
for
solving and
battle.
action combat.
Targets
There were a
in
lot of folks
sight.
that liked this
Let's
game, and in
take
some
'em
cases,
out.
people liked it
What
even more
now?
than Breath of the
Got
Wild
a
at the
job for
time.
me?
Though it didn't reach the
Comlink
commercial heights of
active.
Assassin's Creed or
Start
Far
making
Cry,
your
it
dinner
showed that
plans.
Ubisoft could still
This
deliver
won't
a
take
fresh
long.
and enjoyable experience
Yes,
outside of their
level
established
B.
franchises.
Control group
However, I
created.
think the most important thing to keep
Control
in mind
group
during this period
created.
of time and this
Got a
surge
job
of
for
growth
me?
at
I
Ubisoft
won't
and the
let you
biggest
down.
boon to Ubisoft at the
Civilian
time, as well as
research
many other
complete.
developers as
I'll
well,
make
is
this
that
short
there was a
and
pandemic
sweet.
and lockdown that was driving an increase in game sales and player engagement. With people spending more time at
Targets
home,
in
demand for
sight.
games surged.
Let's take
Ubisoft
'em
benefited
out.
from this greatly, as their established franchises and live service games offered an extensive amount of content for players to explore. Rainbow Six Siege saw massive growth during this
What
period,
now?
the player base growing to over 70 million players
Ready
by the
for
end of
battle.
2021.
That's more
Continued
like
support
it.
through regular
Point
updates, new
there,
operators, and seasonal
conquest.
events helped keep that community engaged and invested even today. Any game studio that had a game that came out or was ready to release right around the time of lockdowns saw massive growth and massive profits. Go figure. But as we've learned, that growth is inorganic and unsustainable,
structure
and none
complete.
of them had been able to maintain it. So with that said,
Insufficient
yeah, of
metal.
course Ubisoft was going to see a
Civilian
little bit of growth
research
there, and they
complete.
definitely evolved a little bit past some of their game design issues, but the vast majority of those issues still remained. Those same criticisms were still there,
Insufficient
regardless of the
metal.
years that had gone by. And one of the other problems that Ubisoft has is the minute that they see something work, they will hammer it until the wheels fall off. They will exhaust you as fast as they
where to,
possibly can,
Commander?
because they just want to try to make as
Deploying.
much money as fast as they possibly can, rather than paying attention to what the longevity of that game would look like, how much more money you could make if the game lived longer. But they just love killing games. When you have an entire
research
industry
complete.
that is criticizing your games, where in a lot of cases you can take some of these reviews for some of their games, layer them on top of each other, and it looks like
Ready
they're
for
reviewing the
battle.
exact same game.
Point
When you have
red
your
to
players that are
next
complaining
conquest.
about your
They will
monetization
take it
practices
under
and prices,
advisement.
you don't even
Good
go
day,
and just make all
Commander.
those things worse.
Yes,
You don't just keep
Commander, at
doing the
once.
exact same thing.
Scouts
You
have
don't
found a
inject.
colonizable planet.
You don't inject.
Civilian structure complete.
How do you put
Easily
XP
done.
boosts in a single player
Plotting
game?
Jump coordinates.
What are you doing?
Commerce
Why?
upgrade complete.
What is this? It
Civilian
completely defeats the
structure
purpose of
complete.
playing games like this in the first place. We know that all you're doing is just expanding the content as far as you possibly can to make it unrealistic.
This was crazy. Who does this?
Why would anyone?
Place your bids, you scallywags. Military research tier complete.
Throughout this game again. Throughout this game again. Because who really gives a shit? However, and I don't
Point
do
late to next
journalism really
conquest.
anymore, as you guys know. And we
Order
talk
is
about this a lot. I was a
received.
journalist.
A lot of
Ready
people
for
don't.
battle.
Yeah.
Yes,
Don't-
Commander,
you're in good
at once.
You're
That's
in
more
good
like
company
it.
then.
Yes,
At one
don't
time,
have
and I
all
used to
day.
break a lot of stories.
We go now, yes?
These days, I don't really grind like
Civilian
that. So
structure complete.
the stories that I break these days are
Stand
usually
by
people,
for
or
phase
always,
jump.
not usually, always people coming to
Comlink
me.
active.
Sure.
And someone who worked on Concord reached
Civilian
out to me,
structure complete.
and I verified who this
I am
person was
listening,
and
my
went through
friend.
all of that and talked to
I
this
will
person
take it
extensively,
under advisement.
like for a long time. And got some, I think, interesting information that I can share about Concord. And I think people will be interested about it. The reason that I wanted to talk about it is because some of the assumptions that I had made about the game were dead wrong, as far as how much it cost and how much Sony really lost on it.
Commerce
So the
upgrade
big thing that you really
complete.
need to know here
You were outbid,
about
you
this
scurvy dog.
is that Concord
Comlink
cost about
active.
$400 million. to
Yes,
make.
Commander, at once. Ready for battle. Easily done. Good day, Commander. That's more like it. Point way to next conquest. Orders received. Military research tier complete. Phase jump is being ready.
8 years of AAA game development? You know what? You're not entirely
Upgrade
wrong.
logistics to unlock
8
more
years,
civilian
big
slots.
studio? Oh my god.
More crystal is needed.
$400 million.
Civilian
story
research
That's
goes
complete.
that-
insane.
Concord, by the time Concord was, so in the 1st
Uh-huh.
quarter of 2023, Concord had basically
Military
entered an alpha
research
state.
complete.
Right.
This was before
Ready
Sony had
for
even
orders.
purchased the team.
Transmission
But
received.
Sony had been working
Stand
with
by for
Probably
phase
Monsters, and which was the original
So
owner.
they were able to play the game and they still bought it? Well, no wonder that gem guy got kicked out. What the hell was he thinking? What the
for
fuck?
Firewalk, probably since late 2020, maybe 2021 at the latest. On Concord, the game was in development before that,
Mhm.
up to the point that the game went
Ready
into
for
alpha
battle.
state.
Yeah.
They had already spent about $200 million on it, and it's unclear how much of that money is from Probably Monsters and the original investors into
I
the
am
game, and how much of that
listening,
money is
my
from
friend.
Sony.
Yes,
Um,
I don't have all day.
There's this term
We must
in
my
teach
God.
them
in
respect.
product development,
Firing all
not only
turrets.
with games, but really with
Civilian
everything. You can
structure
like manufacture a
complete.
shot.
Sure.
You guys might have heard of it. It's called minimum viability or a
Minimum viable product. Yeah.
Commerce
viable
upgrade
product.
complete.
The idea behind this, or MVP, the idea behind this is that this is like what you're trying to achieve, and it's like once you cross this barrier, you feel comfortable selling it. It's not.
Yeah, that's this is
Good
also
day,
known
Commander.
as the pre-order bonus. This is what you get whenever you pre-order a game.
Scouts have found a colonizable planet.
Yeah, there you go. And that's the way all games are released.
Not that it's the best it can be, or that it's what it's going to be by the time you launch it, because there's
Yeah.
all sorts of extra
It's
stuff you
good
can do.
enough
But
to
like,
get it
this
out
is the
there.
minimum
Yeah.
viability of the product. When the game had already had $200 million
Planet item
spent on it and
complete.
was basically in an alpha form in quarter one of 2023, from that point until the game launched,
Civilian
Sony
research
spent
complete.
another $200
Civilian
million
structure
on it.
complete.
The
How do you do that?
Go ahead. Yes, Commander.
Like, I'm really curious, right? Like, how do you make
Transmission
money
received.
disappear like that? That's crazy.
Ready for battle. Yes, Commander. At
Yeah,
once.
these people should, after they made Concord, they should become like magicians or something. They should work for the
A new
Federal
colony
Reserve.
has
They
been
can get rid of
founded.
all the inflation. They'll
Military
just delete
research
all the money.
complete.
scuttlebutt behind the scenes about Concord is that the game was in a laughable shape
Civilian structure complete.
when it was shown, and ready, basically like when the alpha was ready to go, and they were kind of
Yeah.
being like, we're ready to kind of get moving towards getting this thing out in the next year or two.
Good day, Commander.
It was in such
Easily
horrible
done.
shape that
Ready
Sony felt like they
for
needed to spend
battle.
that much money again. So 200
Mining
plus
upgrade
200
complete.
to get the
You've
game
made
to
a
the
fine
MVP
purchase.
status. Not
No refunds.
How do you spend $200 million and it's barely even good
More
enough
crystal
to
is
release?
needed.
Oh my god. It's sunk cost fallacy? I think that's what happened. I do. I feel like they bought it and they were so invested into it that they were like, well, we have to do it now. We're this close.
More crystal is needed.
to the status of it being like a great game,
Military
to
research
get it
complete.
to just viability.
Oh my god.
And that at that time in quarter one 2023
Yeah.
there was nothing
That's more
done.
like it. I am
Like,
listening, my
A
friend.
major expense was having to urgently outsource much of the game to other studios
Mhm.
to finish building the game out.
So they didn't even do it themselves. So they spent $200 million and the studio couldn't even then figure out a way to do it in-house? Oh my god.
Comlink active.
This is how do you do, like, what the hell happened? That's incredible.
And that
Exotic
two
resources
fundamental
have
things
been
were not
located
worked
by
on
our survey
at all
teams.
up to the point in which the game was shown in
Civilian
alpha.
research complete.
Onboarding,
Exotic resources have been
nothing
located
about
by
that.
our survey
No,
teams.
like there was nothing about how
More
players get
crystal
on,
is
like how they make their
needed.
character, all that kind of stuff, or choose their character and get there, and monetization. Two very expensive, very specific and boutique things that happen to games like this.
Commerce
Sure.
upgrade complete.
And so that's the first thing that I wanted to say is that It's not only about the ongoing cost, which would be in the millions to
Ready
keep the game
for
going per
battle.
month.
Exactly.
Yes,
But that the
Commander.
game-
That's
at
why
once.
Sony cut the cord.
Go ahead.
I think that's what it was.
Yes,
It's
Commander.
like they had already
Stand by
spent
for
$400
phase
million,
jump.
or they had spent $200 million. They bought the company for like a certain amount of money too. So like they had already spent hundreds of millions of dollars, and the game to have that much of a fuck up, I'm pretty sure somebody at Sony was like, all right, guys, enough is enough. Let's take her out to the back of the barn and, well, you know how it is.
Cost about $400 million to make, soup to nuts. Sony put most of that money in.
A new
And
colony has
it
been
is
founded.
not only so because we had kind of said like
Easily
this must be
done.
Sony's biggest loss
Yes,
ever on a game,
don't
and it
have
is.
all day.
It's the biggest.
Phase
So
jump
far.
is being
I think
ready.
they can do better.
Point way to next
I think they'll
conquest.
do it. I think they
Order
can
is
do something even
received.
worse than this.
Commerce upgrade complete.
Game Sony's ever released from a
Easily
budgetary
done.
standpoint
Yeah.
from the first party.
Plotting
It's
jump
expensive.
coordinates.
So,
Yes, Commander.
let that sink
at
in.
once.
It's crazy.
Yes,
And it's
I don't
totally
have all day.
unintuitive.
Transmission received.
There are games that are in development right now in
More
Sony for
crystal
first
is
party that are
needed.
more expensive than this. But as of the games that have come out so far, so think about like
Jesus.
Spider-Man 2
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. We know The Last of Us Part 2
Civilian
cost $220 million.
structure
Spider-Man
Wow.
3 is going to cost about $350 million. This game costs more.
I wonder if the people that are making games ever think to themselves, maybe we're spending too much money on making these games. Because like if it costs $350 million, right? Like let's talk the economics of this. If it goes from 260 to 320, they're probably expecting
listening, my
to
friend.
either sell more copies or charge more
Go
money.
ahead. Military
Right? Because
research
everything
complete.
they have like a
Ready
goal
for
projection,
battle.
and you
Yes,
can assume
Commander,
that
at
internally
once.
the goal is
Yes,
not
Commander,
to
at
make
once.
less money than
Logistics
the last
upgrade
product, right?
complete.
That you can easily assume that they are trying to make more money than they made on the last one.
That's more like it.
So
Point way to next conquest. Control
how are they
group
going to make that
created.
money?
I'll make this
Are they going
short
to have
and
weird
sweet.
pre-order things? Are they going to
Yes,
have
I don't have all day.
a early
You've made a
access?
fine
Is the
purchase.
game going to be
And no
$90 instead of
refunds.
$70?
Go
There's going to be
ahead.
something
Yes,
because
Commander.
somewhere down the line,
Civilian
somehow
research
they're going to
tier
have to make that
complete.
extra $80 million back.
Than that. And they lost
Battle
all of
Pass.
it.
Stand by
Because they
for
made no
phase
money.
jump.
They made about $1
I
million
am listening,
gross
my
revenue.
friend. Ready for
$1
battle.
million.
Yes, Commander. At once. Easily done.
Spend $400
I am
million
listening, my
and you
friend.
make $1 million.
Good day, Commander. Yes, Commander.
Gross
At
revenue,
once.
not net.
Civilian
Gross-
research
oh.
complete. Place your bids, you scallywags. Mining upgrade complete. Ready
That's
for
incredible.
battle. Easily done.
And then they gave it all back. So this is a huge, multiple hundreds of millions of dollar
Phase
loss.
jump
They
is
could
being
have
readied.
invested into Bored Apes, and they would have made more money. Like you could have invested
Civilian
into
structure
Enron
complete.
almost, and probably made more money. Like I'm trying to think of like just massive failures that would still
Comlink
make more money
active.
than this. You mean lost less money? Yeah, I guess so.
Question is, why?
Yes,
Mhm.
I
Why
don't
did this
have all
happen?
day.
That's a
Yes,
good question.
Commander.
This game was heavily
Stand by
championed
for phase
behind
jump.
the scenes. Now we know
Deploying.
this because Sony ended up. What's funny is that the game is presented in Q1 2023 as this.
Dude, this is really going to be like what I was saying about how the PS5 Pro was probably leaning super hard on Concord.
Transmission received.
They were probably betting
Good
on this
day,
being
Commander.
a huge W.
That's more
And
like
I
it.
bet they had to
Military
like fucking
research
rush
complete.
cut
Commerce
like
upgrade
a third
complete.
out of the PS5
Phase
Pro
jump
trailer.
is being readied.
You know,
More
we're kind of
crystal
getting
is
towards the
needed.
end. The game is nowhere near being done. It's in a horrible position, and then Sony buys the team.
Exotic resources have been
The
located
idea
by our
behind
survey
this
teams.
was,
Next
and
time, place
the
a
term
bid.
apparently verbatim
Upgrade
had been used,
logistics
that
to unlock more
Concord is
civilian
the future of
slots.
PlayStation.
Insufficient metal.
That they had
Insufficient
such
metal.
major ambition for this game
Insufficient
that it was
metal.
referred to internally as a Star Wars-like project for Sony.
Comlink active. Start making your dinner plans. This won't take long. I am listening, my friend.
There's a lot.
Ready for battle. I hope we're ready for this. Yes,
Like,
I don't have all day.
like, you
Proceeding
can't-
is ordered, but
I
I
mean,
don't like
that's a
this.
400.
I am listening,
that's
my
not true.
friend.
It's a
What's the plan?
$399
We'll need to act
million
fast.
mistake.
Civilian structure complete. Civilian
You
structure
can't just
complete.
mess something up like
Can we
that.
still
That's
turn the tide
crazy.
in our favor? Proceeding is ordered, but I
That
don't like this.
It can be
Call the
repeatedly
shot.
revisited
Commerce
over and
upgrade
over and over
complete.
again.
Oh wait, you're
Shields
right.
down, Commander!
It
What
is
now?
400 because they
Sounds
gave
good.
everybody all the money.
Ready for orders. Deploying.
I forgot. Yeah,
Can
no.
we still
Okay,
turn
no,
the
I
tide
forgot
in
all
our
about
favor?
that. Yes.
Can
No,
I do
you're right.
outs?
$400
Prepare
million
to engage,
mistake.
but we might need some backup. This
Oh my
won't be
God.
so easy.
Not only in cross media, but in what we were seeing, we've already kind of seen little bits of it. So the weekly story vignettes that they were going to
More
release, and then of
crystal
course
is
the
needed.
inclusion in Amazon's
Mhm.
Secret Levels anthology. That's like just scratching
Yeah.
the surface of it. Ironically, the game was codenamed Chaos behind the scenes, and a major thing about the
It
game
was.
is that
Your
there was, and I think
influence
we can
is
kind of get this
noted.
vibe from
We
just the
have a
nature of the
deal.
people making it and
Your
kind of the way
arguments
the
are
game reads and all
compelling.
that.
I
a
shall
toxic
stand with you.
positivity vibe.
You've got the full weights of a star base at your disposal. Logistics upgrade
This is the
complete.
problem, right?
Military
Is
research
that there's
complete.
certain ideals and certain types of like things in video games
Easily
that
done.
you can't question. Like, think about how much shit I got whenever I said that I thought the body type 1 and 2 thing with video
That's
games
more
was
like it.
stupid. Tons of people were like getting mad at me and trying to call me out and shit on me for that. So nobody probably inside of the industry is going to do that because they don't want to risk their job.
Hostile forces have arrived.
You see what I'm saying? Because
What's
these
the
are the
plan?
kinds of people
We'll
that
need
will
to
make
act
up
fast.
lies about you and
We
then
must
go to
take
HR
down
and
the
get you
enemy
fired.
or die trying. Wish
So
us
that's
luck.
what I think happened. It's the same thing with having pronouns for the characters.
Can we still turn the tide in our favor?
So it's like you can't question this or say that
must
it's a
take down
problem
the enemy
because if you
or
do,
die
then
trying.
you're enabling bigotry or somehow you're a bad person. So it's like,
Shields
how do
down.
you address the
Can
fact
I
that
do
this isn't
outs?
going to resonate with an audience? Well, you can't.
What's the plan?
You
we'll
can't
need to
address
act
it.
fast.
You can't talk about it, so you just have to let it go and let it happen. You think they just hired yes men? No. I think that there is a
Commerce
chilling
upgrade
effect
complete.
from the way that people handle
How? They're through
like
our
any sort of
armor.
friction
This won't
with
be so
narratives
easy.
like this.
Aye.
So basically,
What's
and
the
you see
plan?
this all the
We'll
time,
need to
right?
act
Like,
fast.
think about the
This
kind of
won't be
things that
so
people say
easy.
about me.
We're
They
losing
say
ground.
that I hate trans
Let's make
people. They
every
say I
shot
hate
count.
women.
Aye.
You know, like
Military
I
research
all
complete.
of these things, right?
Civilian
I hate gay
research
people,
complete.
I'm racist, etc. And so, if you're saying all of these things about a person, and this is a work environment, this is extremely damaging to a person's career. It can be extremely, like, massively damaging. And I think this is especially true inside of the context of this specifically, because these are the kinds of people that will go to your new employer and then try to push this agenda with them to get you fired from your new job. These are the people that will call
The
your
strength
job to
of
get
the
you fired
coalition.
because you made a Facebook post that was something that they disagreed with politically, right? These are the kinds of people that do it. You might even get blamed for their mistakes. Yeah, exactly. Like, they're super vitriolic. They're super sanctimonious. They're going to do everything that they can to, like, assert themselves as being the, the good group of people, etc. And I think there's a lot of people that work in the gaming industry that probably don't like this at all, but they can't speak out about it because if they speak out about it, they lose their job. Because they get mischaracterized by this group of people that have been involved with gaming long enough to control enough
Hostile
of the
forces have arrived.
enough of the process.
Logistics upgrade complete.
I think this is what's
Good
happening.
day, Commander.
And I think
Aye.
if you think about it, right? If I speak, I'm in trouble. Exactly, right? And so a lot of people don't speak out against it.
Good day,
They probably don't
Commander.
want to die on that hill, and it doesn't matter, and it's not that big of a deal to them. Yeah, exactly,
Civilian
right?
structure
Like, they
complete.
might think this is
I'll
stupid or
make
it's not
this
going to
short
go well,
and
but they care
sweet.
more about keeping
Yes,
their
Commander,
job
at
than, like,
once.
trying to argue about
Civilian
body
structure
type 1 and
complete.
2 or putting pronouns for a robot.
Fine
Like, they
purchase.
care about this, but they
No
don't really care about
refunds.
this more than their job or their well-being, right? Yeah,
You've
they're still
got
going
the
to get paid,
full
which is
weight of a
reasonable. Of course,
starbase at
people
your
are going to think that.
disposal.
But that's the way that it happens, is because reasonable people are afraid to speak out because they don't want to be made an example of by people that are extremists. And I think that's what's happened.
You weren't allowed to say anything
Civilian
apparently
structure
internally
complete.
about this game.
Exactly. Yeah.
About how like something's wrong with it, character designs are not right.
Exactly.
Hostile
Because if you
forces
say
have
the character
arrived.
designs aren't right, then you
Good
are
day,
potentially
Commander.
saying that people of
The
size
item is
should not be
ready.
in video games. And this is the issue, right? Or, oh, you're saying minorities shouldn't be in this game. Oh, you just want everybody to be white
Logistics
people. What are
upgrade
you, a white
complete.
supremacist? Why would anybody want to do that? Why would anybody put themselves in the crosshairs of that?
You've got the full
Because,
weight
like,
of a
for me, like,
starbase
I'm in a
at your
very, very
disposal.
unique position. I have a huge community. A lot of people watch my content.
Military research
Tons of people
complete.
agree with me.
Civilian
and as long as
research
I don't break
complete.
the YouTube or the Twitch terms of service, I still get to make money. So,
Insufficient metal.
effectively, if somebody on Twitter gets upset about something, they can't, like, complain to my boss and just, like, get me fired based off
Exotic
of some
resources
bullshit,
have been
right?
located by our survey
so,
teams.
As a content creator, and especially like given the success of my content, like, I mean, you know, it's not like this isn't a glaze thing, right? But like, it's just the truth. A lot of people watch the content. I can afford to have these opinions because I don't need to rely on any sort of preferential treatment that these people trade for engaging in their narratives. I don't need to play ball with this. And so that's why I think a lot of people also
Insufficient
don't
metal.
like me too, especially people inside of the industry, because I don't have, and I think also, by the way, I don't want to get into specifics for obvious reasons, but I have had multiple people in the video games industry message me privately and say,
The
yeah,
item is ready.
we agree with you. We absolutely fucking agree with you. It's just that they can't speak out against it because they're afraid. Really? Yeah, of course. Absolutely. What do you think? They're all retarded? No, they're not stupid. Yeah, no, they see
An
what's
Allied
happening.
capital
They think it's
ship has been
ridiculous- they think it's as
destroyed.
ridiculous as we do.
An auction is underway.
Maybe they should start doing so. I think you're going to see a very big, like, return to form to gaming that's going to happen in the next 10 years. Because I think
Civilian
that, again,
structure complete.
a lot of these products are just simply not selling. And there's no way that you can make people buy a product. Like, basically, you can shame employees into not speaking out against you, but you can't shame a market into buying a product. So what keeps happening is that products come out that don't meet market expectations, and then the market doesn't buy them. People say, how did we know this didn't happen? And eventually people are going to figure it out. And I think that they already are. I do. Diversity is not innovation. Do you think Concord
Your
Studio also
arguments
had
are
some of these people
compelling.
afraid to speak
I
out?
shall stand
Absolutely
with
they did.
you.
And I actually think that the more likely answer is that Concord Studio initially had those people. The Sony people that worked with Concord initially
Civilian
had these
structure complete.
expectations, but then they either left the team, they got pushed out, or they just lost interest and just
Exotic
did their job
resources have been
anyway.
located by our
A job's
survey
a job.
teams.
Do you think gaming went
Survey
this direction
teams
when
have
the
found
Oculus came
something
out?
interesting.
I think that
Exotic
one of the really
resources
big
have been
turning
located
points
by our survey
probably,
teams.
You failed
Like, I think, like, cultural
to place
turning
a
points,
bid.
like what would have really happened, are actually things that didn't really have a lot to do with gaming. So, for example, you had, like, Elon Musk buying Twitter. I think that really played a really big role, because before then, pretty much all social media was controlled by the exact same group of people that had all of the same values. And so if you spoke out against something, you would be completely unpersoned from the internet. Twitter
Military
gets
research
bought by
complete.
Elon Musk. They get rid of those rules, and now there's a leak in the dam, and before you know it, the floodgates are open,
Insufficient metal.
and everybody's typing the N-word again. That's what happened, right? You know it, I know it, everybody knows it. Everybody's racist again. And so why is that? Were people not racist whenever Twitter wasn't like that? No, it's just that they were getting banned and making new accounts and the posts were getting deleted. And so I think that that really went to show, because if you can see, this is a huge thing, right?
Awaiting your orders,
If
Captain.
people like on the old Twitter were unable
Civilian
to
research
express certain
complete.
opinions,
Military research
the
tier
reason
complete.
why those
The
people
next
aren't
marks
able to
the
express those
coordinates.
opinions
Good day,
is because
Commander.
a lot of people
Control group
they would get
created.
banned. Like, so you would never see really, really viral, super popular posts that had a extremely conservative lean to them. You would never see that because those accounts would get banned, or they would get suppressed or silenced or suspended, or something would happen to them. But now that people can see that actually
Research
there's a
rate
lot of other
upgrade
people that think
complete.
the same way that I do, now you're seeing it change. And I'll also give you another good example, right? Is that look at Dr. Disrespect. Nobody is going to come out and say that it's a good thing that, or they don't care that Dr. Disrespect was talking inappropriately with a minor, allegedly. Nobody is going to say that, right? However, it's very obvious that the audience that is actually consuming content doesn't care about that. That's because content creators and people on the internet care more about optics. So when you have a content creator, and this is a very healthy thing for you to look at, and you can also see, like, for example, think about the
Insufficient
Hogwarts Legacy, like all of that drama as well. People don't care. Yeah, exactly. Because average people don't make decisions based off of this. So I think that Twitter being able to be an actual free place for people to have opinions and say what they think was a massive turning point for why I think that you're seeing such a big like backlash against this. It's because beforehand you were not able to have this opinion. Like, you couldn't speak. Now that people can speak, they're making up for lost time. And I think also there's other instances like the Bud Light controversy and a handful of other things, like Trump winning, I think was probably like a precursor to this as well. So yeah, speedrunning racism, yeah, pressure cooker silence, yeah, exactly. And if you make people stay silent for too long, they will revolt against you. Certain words still get censored on Twitter. Yeah, like the bundle of sticks word. Yeah, you do get you'll get you can type the word and you don't get banned. It's just that it gets like hidden, right? And so that's really what happens. Elon buying Twitter and saving free speech, really the biggest W of our lifetime. I think it was very important that Elon bought Twitter, and I think that Twitter is a lot better because of that. So that's what
Military
I think.
structure
What do you think a
complete.
paradigm of modern audience being a gold mine is finally finished? Well, the problem is that the modern audiences... The issue
complete,
also
Commander.
is that a lot of people would consume content that was created for modern audiences because dissenting opinions about that content were not as easily accessible. But now, because dissenting opinions are more easily accessible and more people are able to see, wait a minute, like, there's a huge confirmation bias that
Research
people
rate
get
upgrade complete.
from watching something and then being told that it's entertaining. People really like being told what to think. So if they're reading a bunch of posts and all of the posts are saying that, like, the Star Wars Acolyte show is good, they're going to talk about it being good. So I think that a lot of people really downplay how sheepish the average person is.
Civilian research complete.
So the moment that the average person can see that they don't have one perspective, they have two perspectives or multiple perspectives they can look at, then they can think for themselves. But when they're only shown one perspective, then they're all going to think that one thing. Look at vaccines during COVID. I think that COVID and the vaccine thing was actually probably one of the biggest agitators for this. It was like, I would say probably the worst one. Because what happened was that, like, everybody who was able to talk, and I know I'm going off like super, super long on this, but I hope you guys can see kind of like how all this fits together, right? Is that during COVID, it was very evident that the CDC...
Military research complete.
I mean, to be honest with you, they were doing what you do in any experiment. You try something, you see if it works. It doesn't work, you try something different. But the problem is that the fact that you weren't able to criticize the vaccine the fact that you weren't able to criticize or draw any doubts about the way that you had to do things, like you know this you know distancing and like wearing a mask, etc. Like COVID restrictions. Sorry, I was thinking about something else. The fact that you weren't able to do any of these things and speak out against it caused people
I will
to
deliver
have
your
a
order
tremendous
personally.
pushback.
Comlink
It
active.
created a massive pushback for this, and you saw people losing their job over, you know, not wanting to take the vaccine. That's crazy. That's crazy. And it doesn't matter to you. Like, I mean, and there's a lot of you guys probably took the vaccine and you think it was a good decision. It's fine.
Planet item
I'm
complete.
not going to argue about whether that was or wasn't a good decision because I'm not a chemist. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a virologist. I don't know. But what I'm saying is that for people to see that happen and then to see the fact that you were not able to criticize this thing and then to see the fact that this thing minted new billionaires from the owners of the company, and then the fact that these companies are privately held, that were being seen as the gold standard of the government, created a massive
Place your
level of
bids, you
distrust
scallywags.
that I don't think that we will recover from in 20 years. It was an insane level of distrust. At 40? Yeah, like it is a
complete.
generational fuck up. So anyway, that's why I think you see this happen. And that's why I think things are going to change. It's because opinions like the opinions that people that are Concord enjoyers have, these opinions cannot exist in a free market, and they cannot exist inside
You were
of
outbid,
a
you scurvy dog.
like an
Civilian
evolutionary
research
scope.
complete.
They can only exist
Research
when
rate
they're
upgrade
protected,
complete.
and dissenting opinions can't prey on them. That's what happens. So in the free marketplace
Military
of ideas,
research
these ideas
complete.
die. And that's why they tried so hard to make it to where you didn't have a free marketplace of ideas. There are things that you just can't question, things that you can't be against. Even though, again, a lot of people, you can change what people say. It's a lot harder to change what people think.
Good day,
Especially
Commander.
when they have the
Yes,
option
Commander.
to talk
At
about
once.
what they think. They can't win under
Easily
scrutiny.
done.
Yeah. So that's basically it. I hate it. I go to work COVID, veterinary lab. We got COVID swabs, and we hadn't any safety protocols for human samples. Well, I
An
don't want
allied
to talk about
colony
COVID
has
or
been
anything like that.
lost.
I'm just saying that, like, I think that these were like kind of the dominoes
Good
that
day,
fell
Commander.
that have caused
Military
such a
research
massive
complete.
counter
That's more like
reaction
it.
to things like Concord, or things like Dragon Age, or things like Dustborn, or things like the Acolyte, etc. This has been how the
I will
dominoes have
deliver
fell.
your order
And I think there's a
personally.
handful of other things that happen too. But yeah. Anyway, back to the video. This tangent was probably longer than the fucking video.
Civilian
but yeah,
research
that's,
complete.
that's why and how it happened, I think.
And so on and so forth. They really truly believe this was Herman Hulst's baby, apparently. And
Times
he
of
internally was
war
himself a
upon us.
massive champion of the game.
Comlink
So
active.
it's not that. So the
Control
reason I'm
group
telling you all of
created.
this, it's some interesting information, of course, but it's that I had said when people were like, Concord lost $200 million. Now people were pulling that money out because that's basically how much like some of the first party games like Ghost of Tsushima, The Last of Us
Yeah,
Part
sure.
2, etc., kind of cost in that frame.
Frame of reference. Yep.
And I was like, there's no way that it cost that much. I was saying like it cost 9 figures probably, like low $100 million, but there's no way it cost
And it was
$200 million.
$400 million.
No, it cost $400 million.
Oh my
So-
god.
And I am totally solid on this source, by the way. So that's why I'm willing to share it with you. Because again, I'm
Unbelievable.
not really a
Plotting jump
journalist. So
coordinates.
yeah, the big things to take away: $400 million loss. The game was in horrible shape as of 18 months ago before release. Not
It was
even
in horrible shape 18 days ago. But yeah, there's that too.
Planet item complete.
monetization, no onboarding, most content not even there. The game was in such bad shape at that point that they spent
Military
the budget
research
of
complete.
it again in urgent outsourcing to get the game finished from all of these different angles over an 18-month period. Internally, the game was considered part of the future of PlayStation
Yep.
with heavy cross-media
yeah.
references and a system of toxic positivity.
Think about how big it is. The fact that
Civilian
the
research
Netflix show
complete.
was made for Concord before Concord even released. I think that's
Aye.
probably the best data point that I can use to verify what he's saying. That's crazy. Was it Amazon? It was an Amazon show. Oh, Amazon, not Netflix. Sorry. But there was an Amazon show. There's like a series of shows that were based off of video game worlds. Like I think they're doing a Cyberpunk one, a God of War one, you know, like Last of Us, I think. No, actually probably not, because they did a whole show about that. And they did a Concord one as well called Secret Level. Yeah, it's like a mini show. Or mini series, excuse me. And they made one for Concord. And so you would have to easily assume that the filming for a lot of this is probably already done. The shooting for a lot of this is probably already done. So they did all of this.
Times of
They
war
basically
are
wrote a
upon
blank
us.
check for Concord.
Good day,
They said
Commander.
this game is going to be successful, and we're even going
Planet
to make
item
like
complete.
Amazon like
Control group
produced like
created.
film media
Easily done.
about this game.
An auction
Crazy
is underway.
level of investment.
Activity surrounding it that didn't allow anyone to meaningfully change the course of the game, because if the people at the top truly believe in something, you're not going
Scouts
to be
have
able
found a
to
colonizable
do
planet.
much about that. I don't think from the
And think about it from like your perspective, right? Like let's say you're one of the guys that's on the ground, you're doing the work. Well, what do you think happens if you're the one speaking out against the executive's idea that he's this is his game that he really wants to push out there? It's going to be like our Overwatch. It's going to be our Star Wars. Well, now you're the enemy and you get fired.
That's more like it.
That's what happens.
Civilian structure
Trenches.
complete.
So I thought people would be interested in that, and just wanted to throw that out there. That yeah, Star Wars really apparently, or I'm sorry, Star Wars. Sony really saw this as a Star Wars like
Civilian research complete.
potential. And now
ally
it makes
has lost
sense.
the starbase.
Not only why they
Times
spent
of
so much money
war
on it, but
are
why they
upon
bought the
us.
team. So there are people there,
What a
and
mistake.
to me, it's unclear
That's
who exactly the
crazy.
people are. I know some of the names. I don't want to get too deep into
Civilian
that.
structure
There's
complete.
a lot of the things I learned were off the record, but obviously
Your
this is on
bid was
background.
insufficient.
And
Military research complete.
it's like, yeah, now it makes a little more sense. You spent, and by the way, the $400 million not included in how much it cost to buy the team.
Good day, Commander. Yes, Commander. At once. Easily done. Plotting jump coordinates.
Oh my God.
You've made a fine purchase.
Unbelievable.
No refunds.
So, yeah, so Concord is Sony's
Mhm.
biggest
That's
released
more like
game
it.
by budget to date, and
Yes,
it is the
Commander,
biggest
at
loss that they've
once.
ever had as a company. on a
Easily
project so
done.
far.
That's amazing. Almost $500 million.
Civilian structure complete.
This might just be the biggest
Control
media flop
group
in general,
created.
not just video games. It's hard to say because a lot of these companies don't actually
Yes,
say how much
Commander,
money they
at
spend on
once.
things. But that is fucking incredible.
Civilian structure complete.
Cord.
Like, a dev culture of toxic positivity halted any negative
Planet item
feedback.
complete.
That's usually how terrible ideas get that far. If you give feedback, you're the bad guy, so people just stop doing it after a while. Exactly. With the $400 million budget, you could have made
Defense
4 amazing
upgrade
PlayStation
complete.
titles. Yeah, or you could make one Concord. Factoring
Can
in
I
Sony
do
bought the
out?
studio or not. No, she didn't watch it. They said that at the end. Concord budget was $400
An
million
Allied
to
capital
make.
ship
That
has
is
been
beyond
destroyed.
insane. Well, look, Concord is a massive failure, but I not to believe this number for a second. The whole "I know someone who knows something" tweets are just never believable to me at this point. So, well, let's think about this logically, right? So I actually don't think that's true at all, because if you think about the amount of money that it takes to run a studio for for 8 years, and a AAA studio with over 100 employees, and then you also talk about like all of the, because they said that they were spending money outsourcing, and when you outsource something, you're
Control
also
group
spending a
created.
tremendous amount of money
Civilian
doing
structure
that. You're
complete.
paying a premium in order to be able to do this. And the
Comlink
TV show, yeah, it's hard to
active.
know how the funding for the TV show happened. And you even look at other games like Elden Ring cost $200 million. Star Citizen is
Yes,
upwards of
Commander, at
$700 million
once.
so far, and the game's not even finished yet.
Easily
So there's
done.
tons of examples of this happening. And I think also, really, there's also the matter of
Times
bloat
of
and
war are upon
mismanagement.
us.
Like, I think that Twitter is a great example of this. How is
Military
it that Elon
research
Musk fired
complete.
80% of people at Twitter,
Civilian
but Twitter
structure
basically
complete.
functions the exact same? Well, I'll tell you how. It's bloat and overhiring. So I think that Concord was probably a perfect storm of all of these bad things happening at the same time.
Insufficient metal.
Massively bloated teams, huge
Civilian
overhiring,
research complete.
toxic positivity, having to hire and pay a premium because of outsourcing, massive delays, a focus on a minimum viable product rather than an actual finished product. Like, think about it, right? You put all
Ready
that
for
together,
battle.
and $400
Control
million
group
doesn't
created.
seem that crazy. It doesn't function the same. They aren't banning anyone with a conservative opinion. Well, what I'm saying is that a lot of companies, like, for example, a lot of companies can make video games with very, very small studio sizes, and then other companies have massive studio sizes, and they still can't figure out how to make a game. I think that obviously a bigger studio has an advantage, but it's very obvious that it's not that simple.
That's more like it.
And they wanted to charge us $200 for that ding. Also, they never addressed the problem we sent it in for, only that thing that they decided to find.
Connector broken, also don't know what that's referencing.
No idea what that means.
Good day,
Everything, there were
Commander.
no broken connectors when we sent it in.
System noise.
Okay, don't know what that means.
Yeah, gap
Okay.
abnormal.
What does that mean?
Scouts have found a
It felt like
colonizable
Asus
planet.
tried to scam us when they tried to charge us
Research rate
$200
upgrade complete.
to repair
Plotting
something we didn't
jump
even
coordinates.
claim as damage in
Comlink
a warranty
active.
claim.
Yes,
This
Commander,
was sent
at
back in.
once.
It's our Asus ROG Ally to repair a thumbstick problem.
Civilian research
and
complete.
Somehow, that turned into Asus saying the LCD needs to be replaced, even though the joystick is covered under their repair policies. And what's better still,
Item
is
complete,
it felt like
Commander.
Asus was
Military
threatening
research
us
complete.
by saying, we'll send the device
An
back
ally
possibly
colony has been lost.
unassembled.
And they're going to
Ready
take this
for
shit
battle.
apart, too? So it's
Control
like they're
group
holding it
created.
hostage?
That's more like it.
Oh my
Can
god.
I do out?
if you don't pay this fee.
Who
it
does
honestly
this?
felt like an extortion attempt.
Yeah.
It was like, if you
Need
want
a
to see your
plain
beloved
purchase.
Asus Ally working again,
No
pay us
refunds.
$200 for something totally unrelated to the actual warranty claim you had. When we sent this into Asus, the screen was working. They said that the reason they were rejecting the claim is because of this. Do you see it? Do you have the zoom lens on? We might need a you know what? Let's bring this down to the microscope. I'll show you the damage.
Yeah, okay, let's see it. I'm sure this is going to be a really big deal if the way he has to show it is with a microscope.
We're gonna find the damage. I've got the Ally here.
Place
That's-
your
Uh-oh.
bids, yes,
Here we go.
scallywags.
So where is the damage?
Item complete, Commander.
I can't.
Oh,
No way.
oh, there
No
it is.
way. They're not joking. They sent us a photo of this
The
and said
item
that's
is
why we
ready.
need to pay $200.
Military research complete.
That's $200, and we're not alone in this.
That is shameless.
And we have evidence, as always. Just this week, a user posted on Reddit noting that Asus demanded $3,758 Canadian dollars to repair a 4090
Civilian
video
research
card, which
complete.
the user paid $2,799 CAD for.
Whoa,
the reason for the repair was a
I was AFK. I wasn't listening.
noting that Asus demanded $3,758 Canadian dollars to repair
Ready
a
for
40.
battle. Yes, Commander. At once.
3,000.
Like it.
That's more than the card. It's like
video
$1,000
card,
more.
which the user paid $2,799
What?
CAD for. The reason for the repair was a scratch in the housing of the connector. Not burning, not melting, not fracturing. Literally
Maximum
a
civilian
scratch.
orbit
The
slots
same problem we had
reached.
with our ally. This sounds like policy. And as quickly as possible,
You're
here are
a
examples
biggest
from our
scurvy
own viewers who
dog.
have emailed us.
Plotting
March
jump
26th,
coordinates.
a viewer emailed us claiming Asus cracked the chassis of their laptop
Can
when it was
I
sent in
do
for
out?
repair. The user has documentation supporting this. March 13th, viewer emailed us stating that their new video
allied
card exhibited
capital ship has
instability.
been destroyed.
Asus replaced the device with a different, damaged, refurbished device.
Ready for
February
battle. Yes, Commander. At once.
Oh man. This is crazy. Like Like this is really bad.
19th, a viewer emailed us where Asus
Military
rejected
research
the motherboard RMA
complete.
for quote-unquote
An
customer-induced
allied capital
damage.
ship has
The
been
user
destroyed.
believes Asus damaged the board. February 1st, the user emailed quote customer-induced.
Is
Civilian
power
research
on,
complete.
RMA claiming consumer-induced damage. Wow, that is that is
Control
bad.
group created.
It happened to me with the
Civilian
motherboard.
structure complete. Military
damage.
research
The
tier
user believes
complete.
Asus damaged the board. February 1st, the user emailed us telling us about
Civilian
an Asus
structure
RMA for a
complete.
motherboard which Asus remotely diagnosed as having memory issues. Asus later quoted the user $190
Civilian
for the
structure
repair
complete.
of the $210
Scouts
motherboard,
have found a
citing
colonizable
quote-unquote
planet.
physical damage after previously diagnosing
Civilian
a memory
structure
issue.
complete.
December 21st, the user emailed us telling us about how their laptop was stuck in RMA hell for over a month. December 7th, a user emailed us where Asus
RMA, by the way, is whenever you return something, and so it's the return process.
Ready
quoted them
for
$2,658 to
Control
repair a
group
laptop.
created.
The laptop is one of Asus's special ones that
Yes,
ships with liquid
Commander,
metal
at
pre-installed
once.
by Asus. The liquid metal leaked. The user states they never opened the system, and
Easily
Asus
done.
denied the claim and demanded money to fix it. And we have
Jesus.
at least 100 of these emails over the past several months alone. And this
100 over several months. That's really bad. Oh my god.
is a list we're showing now from May 2023 alone. Last time we did this with Asus,
You've
featuring
made a
damaging
plain
devices and for
purchase.
repair and returning them,
No
stating that 109
refunds.
degrees for
Comlink
GPU hotspot is normal.
active.
It's not,
Plotting
and more.
jump
And
coordinates.
Asus clearly has a warranty problem. And today, all of that is
Yeah.
what we're talking about, but we
That's
are
more like
fortunate
it.
enough
Start
own
making your
experience
dinner plans. This
it wasn't a
won't
good
take
one.
long.
We sponsored our own under
That's what's fucking crazy about it. Is like they had it happen to
For the
themselves.
home world.
Because like you never really know whenever it's
Unity
like somebody
calls.
else. It's like, did this really happen? It's hard to say.
A
But like, yeah,
wise
this happened to them.
choice.
cover warranty investigation. If you
for
want to directly
battle.
fund the extreme lengths we've gone to lately for content and
Hostile
continued
forces
independent
have
coverage,
arrived.
grab this
Ready
limited
for
time
battle.
gold and blue variation
Control
of our
group
cyberskeleton
created.
foil shirt on
Easily
store.gamersnexus.net.
Start
The shirt
making your
features a
dinner
new fit
plans.
and new colors
This
with the
won't
ribcage
take
design
long.
made of computer components
Our
like
planet
cables,
is under
RGB
siege.
LED strips,
Military
water cooling
research
components, and a
complete.
spine on the back
Our
made
planet
of
is under
MOSFETs, inductors, and
siege.
VRM components. These shirts directly fund our in-depth reporting and ability to hold manufacturers
the full
accountable.
weight
You can
of a
also grab something like
starbase
one of
at
our
your
heavy-duty
disposal.
silicone soldering and project
You
mats.
guys remember like doing tech repair in like the 2000s? This is whenever I was in high school and I did it a lot. And there were like all these like weird cords because everything wasn't
Good
fully
day,
standardized
Commander.
yet. And I remember like in the first week of our computer repair class, all I did was organize the cables. And it
Shields
actually took
down.
that long.
Head over to
So bad.
store.gamersnexus.net to pre-order the shirt today or grab one of our other
Fire
items.
in the
So now 1 year
hole.
later, almost
day,
exactly since we last
Commander.
talked
In the
about
90s?
Asus
Yes,
issues with
Commander,
motherboards
at
at the
once.
time, and then its warranty practices stemming from all of
That's
that.
more
we
like
had,
it.
Attorney Vincent Augusta on the show. to
Oh,
talk
my
about
God.
Item
his
complete,
interpretation
Commander.
of it. We are
Civilian
back
research
to
complete.
blow the doors back open about what it's like to really be a customer of Asus. This is our Asus ROG Ally Z1
Ready for
Extreme. We've had it
battle.
for about just under 1
Easily
year
done.
actually, and we bought 2 of these now. The other was the non-extreme device.
This is bad. Yeah, I mean, like, no, somebody said in
Additional
chat, IT in the
credits
90s was fun.
required.
No, my mom would say, like, if you had a problem in, like, the
Civilian
80s or the
research tier
70s, 'cause, like, so,
complete.
like, bit
Military
of
research
background.
complete.
My grandpa was a pilot in World War II, and so he did, like, cartography and stuff after the war was over, and then he taught my mom to fly and do cartography as well. And so whenever PCs and, like, computers were coming out, obviously this was, like, very relevant to, like, their job. So my mom was buying PCs for like $30,000 and $40,000
Additional
because,
credits
like, you know, he was doing
required.
pretty well back then, and you know, it was a lot of money, like back in like 1975 and shit. So she had been dealing with PCs by the time that like I came around. She was already on like her 3rd or 4th PC at the time, and she said that back in the day, it's like if you had a problem and you called up IBM, that like she had one guy like laugh at her because she just couldn't figure it out or she got the wrong one. And they just hung up. That was it. It's like, oh, you got that.
We
You got the
don't have
1.10.
sufficient quarium. Planet item
man.
complete.
You're in for a time. All right, I'll see you later. And that was it. Yeah, that was it.
In
Sucks
just
to
1
suck,
year since
yeah.
purchasing, our Z1 Extreme has had
You
the
say
following
30K for a
issue.
PC?
The micro
Yeah.
SD card slot
your
never
Yeah, 30,
worked
40K.
and seemingly burned itself out.
Good
The left
day,
joystick
Commander.
on the
That's
X-axis
more like
stopped
it.
working and began drifting, which you can see in some of our footage
Oh, yeah,
showing
I had-
mouse
I had
cursor movement
controllers
on the
do
desktop.
that. I
And the
threw 'em
battery
against the
has
wall.
already lost
A lot.
8% of its lifespan in just 1 year of extremely lightweit use. That's a lot of problems in 1 year, and two
The
of those are
scourge of the
inarguably
galaxy.
not our fault. In fact, they are
Aye,
so not our
Captain.
fault that Asus has made fixes
As ye
for them part
command.
of their explicit warranty coverage.
Yeah,
so,
then they know.
anyway,
Well, yeah, because they know it's a weak point in the system. Yeah, for sure.
we sent the Ally in, and before we did, because it seems like hundreds of you have
What
complained to
word
us about
from the
having similar
crow's
issues, we
Aye,
decided to
Captain.
carefully photograph
How?
and document every
They're
single
through
corner of
our
our
armor.
device, and also get the internals of it documented. In
Avast!
addition to super
What
high
be your
resolution
bidding?
photos, we also took
Hostile
notes.
forces have arrived. Ready for battle. Easily done.
Photoed it. Took all the pictures before they sent it in. Oh no.
Good day, Commander.
Scope shots of the PCBs,
Oh,
the connectors.
God.
We logged the level of stripping on the screw heads, and we logged any damage of our
Next
own to the
time, place a
plastics.
bid.
4K,
We also
bro. This is
removed our
8K.
SSD, because our advice to anybody sending a device in for repair
You've
of any
got the
kind
full
is
weight
to
of a
remove the
star
jack.
base at
This
your
was also a
disposal.
good test of
Ready
Asus's
for
processes
battle.
and competence. Here's the timeline. First, we filed an RMA for the defective thumbstick,
Sure.
and this part is critical. We did this anonymously. They didn't know who we were. We're just a normal customer.
been crippled.
And we also did not tell them about our broken micro
Good
SD card
day,
slot.
Commander.
Which, again, as a reminder, that is an Asus problem, not an us problem.
Calm.
So they
Link
didn't even
active.
have like a. Like generally, whenever you
Ready
fix
for
something,
battle.
whenever you're done
Yes,
fixing
Commander,
it,
at
you
once.
have to go through like a protocol of making sure that all of the key components are working properly.
Heave ho!
Like that's at least what like I did. I was doing this whenever I was like 15 years old. Like
You've won us over with your fancy
what do you?
words.
This is diagnostic. Yeah,
Your
exactly.
coin. You've
That's
made
important
a
to the story
fine
because we
purchase.
wanted Asus to
And
discover
Even a small
other
company just-
problems
yes.
if they were going to.
Calm
Well,
Link
and it's smart. You
active.
have to. It's smart to do it because, like, again, think about it from the company perspective. If you send them back something that's broken, well, then they're just going to send it back to you again. So now you're paying for shipping 3 times. Like that's crazy.
We're going down.
So yeah, 3 times instead of 1. So yes, and also the money. It's a terrible idea to do this. It's not even cost
What be
effective.
your
Like,
bidding?
it's just it's something that
Heave
it's
ho!
bad.
As ye
It's a
command.
situation where no one wins.
Aye, Captain.
Literally, no one wins.
An X marks the coordinates.
Here's how all
Ready
this went
for
down.
battle.
First, we did some troubleshooting
Easily
locally and dropped the
done.
thumbstick between our Z1 non-extreme and our Z1 extreme. We found that this fixed the issue, indicating a defect in the PCB or the stick
Fire in the
itself. So it's an easy
hole.
repair for them.
Good
we then
day,
swapped it back to
Commander.
the original state.
Yes,
And
Commander,
our issue
at
matched
once.
this one described on Reddit.
Our planet
on
is under
April 8th, we
siege.
contacted Asus customer support. We told them only that the left stick doesn't work.
The
Here's our
strength of the
exact RMA
coalition.
form. Patrick filled this
Plotting
out.
jump
I asked him to
coordinates.
pretend to be a relatively uninformed customer who only knows enough to know that the joystick isn't working right. This is part of our normal
Man, they really
Times of war are
they
upon
really laid
us.
the traps, didn't they?
testing for
Yeah,
warranty.
this is
so rather
bad.
than acting as patient and well-informed
This is bad.
customers
Comlink active.
writing the answer, we act as an uninformed user who is normally patient at first, but becomes frustrated as the company
Right.
genuinely becomes frustrating to deal with.
Yeah,
So
so
that
like a
seems
normal
fair.
person.
Control
so that's our
group
process.
created.
Yeah.
And normally our view
Civilian
is if
research
the company
complete.
can survive that. It's
That's
kinda like
more
a
like
thermal
it.
torture test. It's like if it can pass this test, it can pass anything.
Well, and yeah, and I hope Asus like this is my perspective. Is like people have done this with Starforge before, and like this is very normal. Do you know that like big companies and also big individuals, like not big as in terms of weight, right? Not fat guys, but like Donald Trump or Jeff Bezos or anybody that's like got over 100 mil, right? Or like maybe
Insufficient
500 mil
metal.
of net worth. They are having accounting firms audit them. They are asking, please audit me because I want to make sure that nothing is wrong. Like, I hope Asus realizes that they are getting a fucking, like, top of the line customer service audit. Now, The price for that, it's not free. It makes you look like a fucking idiot, but it's out there, and now you know where the problems are. It is. That's how they should see this. Asus needs to be dissolved as a company. Well, they just need to fix their customer service. Like, they're not going to dissolve as a company. They need to fix their customer service. That's it. Lowell implying Trump ever wanted a legit audit. Look, I don't want to talk about, like, oh, I don't like Trump. That's not the point. The point is, if you make a lot of money, you want to do this yourself. And obviously, like, companies do this as well.
We've lost
like,
contact with one of our planets.
And we just keep the bar as long
Control
as it's
group
sort of
created.
reasonable,
Times
but
of
frustrating.
war
That's
are
the
upon
best we
us.
dial it up to these
Yes,
days
Commander,
for these tests.
at
Now,
once.
Asus asks you
Control
to
group
write
created.
your operating system
Item
password
complete,
and
Commander.
BIOS password in plain text in their RMA form. They do suggest that you just wipe those passwords instead. So
Insufficient
instead
metal.
of doing something insane like writing a password on a piece of paper going in the mail, we ensured no passwords were on the device at all by removing them from BIOS and also taking the SSD out. Asus is very clear in these things as well. They say, quote, Asus is not responsible, all caps, to you or any third party for loss of data, including during the inspection process. This is another reason to remove the SSD.
To be fair, Asus has to, like, this is the only thing right here. They have to have this for liability purposes. It's kind of like a, well, it's not kind of like, it is a disclaimer. That like, if they didn't have this, they would not be able to realistically be able to process data. Like, yeah, it's normal. It's very normal. Yeah.
This doesn't guarantee, they say, the original parts, which would include
this
the
isn't a W
Again,
for Asus.
another
This is
reason to
common
remove it.
sense.
Asus
Okay?
also tells you not to send in the device with anything that you might want back because they'll throw it away.
Nope.
They actually explicitly say that they will, quote, not be returned to you. Not that they might not be returned, but straight up that they won't be returned. So fair enough, they want you to kept the box and accessories.
Again, that's probably a good idea. I think Asus, that actually is a good idea because it just removes liability. That's the reason why. They don't want to have to deal with it. If you send them some extra shit, like, they're not going to send it. It's literally just for liability. There is no other reason for it other than liability.
Easily done.
Fabricated a signature for our undercover alias, Pat Stain, operating in conjunction with Agent Beeb Stern. Both have been on the job for about a decade now, and we sent it in with a simple note that said,
Control
left
group
stick
created.
broken and only goes
This
up
shall
and down.
be
That
our
seems
finest
sufficient
hour.
without being
Military
belligerent
research
or
complete.
overly annoying. On April 9th,
Thing don't
we
work.
box and shipped it to Asus' spec. Asus provides an RMA checklist. They ask you to wrap the device with a
Commander,
bundle
what
wrap packed in
now?
a box with an air gap in the
must
back
take
box
down
in the
the
box.
enemy
We think that's
or
great.
die
They also
trying.
provide a shipping label, which
I
is
hope
good,
we're
as we
ready
have
for
dinged
this.
them pretty hard for that.
By the way,
Down,
look
Commander.
at
What
this. Is,
now?
dude. My mom used to order fine china from like eBay, and they didn't even pack it this good. This is crazy.
Prepare
This is
to engage,
overkill. Yeah.
but we
So
might need some
basically,
backup.
there's like no way this thing got
time,
messed
place
up,
it
right?
big.
It's ultimately their fault the device is going back anyway.
Civilian
We dropped
research
the device
complete.
off on April 9th, and by April 16th, it was at the RMA Center. Asus emailed us
Proceeding
on April
as
18th,
ordered,
and this is
but
when
I
the
don't
problems
like this.
began. And they told us that they were testing the device. They said it would
FedEx
turn around
yeah,
in
yeah.
7 to 10
What
days.
now?
The same day, Asus emailed us with this, quote, we would like to inform you that your product is out of warranty or judged as customer-induced damage, CID, thus the repair charge shall be applied.
No
Our service center will contact you.
This won't be so
There was
easy.
no way for us to
Shields
respond to this.
down,
They don't have
Commander.
an
What
option to
now?
reply,
What's
and
the
in
plan?
fact,
Well, that's
need to act
convenient
fast.
for them.
Proceeding
email
as
sent
ordered,
to your
but I don't
mailbox,
like
and
this.
you reply to it,
Good
it's
day,
bounced
Commander.
as failed to send. So this
Shields
it's
down,
particularly
Commander.
frustrating
What
because
now?
we knew there was no customer-induced damage. We had documented every aspect of the device before sending it in, and yet we had no way at
Can
that
we still
time
turn the
to
tide
dispute
in our
the
favor?
claim. We just
We're
sat
falling
and
apart
waited.
here.
On
Need
April
immediate
19th, only a day
assistance.
later, we received
This won't
a
be
more
so
detailed
easy.
email. It
Item
said,
Well, I have
complete,
this
Commander.
monitor right here. Let me see, this
Prepare
one.
to
This monitor right here is an
engage,
Asus
but we might
monitor,
need
bro.
some
Like, now
backup.
I'm
Yes, Commander, at once.
We received your unit
scared,
at a
man.
repair center with signs of
Awaiting
damage, which
your
is not covered
orders,
under the
Captain.
manufacturer's warranty. So
Yeah.
strike two, and this is starting to feel like the Newegg motherboard
We're
story.
going down.
They sent us a list referring to notebooks, monitors, video
No
cards,
armor!
and motherboards for examples of customer-induced damage, none of which or an ASUS ally, and all of which are completely irrelevant. And they basically just said there's customer
falling
damage. And
apart
to
here.
us, the lack
Need
of
immediate
transparency here,
assistance.
the lack of information is an immediate red
Fire
flag.
at will.
Whereas a customer, it feels like you're getting fleeced for money for
Well,
something.
what's happening is that it's
No
not being
armor!
thoroughly inspected. That's why there's no point of reference. And like what I bet is probably happening. So this is me extrapolating, okay? So like I
What
could be
would
totally
you have
wrong
me
about this.
do?
But how many of you guys work at a company that has a quantitative measuring statistic that your job performance is based off of? A lot of you guys have that, huh? Yeah. Pretty much everybody does. Yeah, KPIs, yeah, whatever you want to call it, right? Depending on what you're doing. And so anyway, what I bet happens is ASUS or whoever they outsource their work to has a KPI, has a performance metric that counts being able to identify customer damage and complete the ticket as a fully completed ticket. So I bet what's happening is that the people that are running customer service,
Yes, Commander, at once.
I actually generally assume that the people, like, they would probably try to fix it if they could. But whenever you create, and this is the problem with like any of these systems,
Easily done.
is that oftentimes the systems are
Good
not
day,
really
Commander.
fine-tuned by people that
Control
are
group created.
familiar with what the actual
Civilian
job is,
research
because it's
complete.
done by like systems
That's more
analysts
like it.
or like some sort of other like process engineer. But the other
Military
issue is
research
that
complete.
it takes your job
Comlink
and it
active.
turns it into a
Control
game.
group created.
So you're no longer doing your job, you're
That's
playing
more
the
like it.
game. You're trying to get a
Flying
high
jump
score in the
coordinates.
game. And so that's why I think this shit happens. I think that,
Times
like,
of
yeah, you
war
can
are
obviously
upon
have
us.
like shitty repair techs. Like, yeah, sure, whatever. But like, whenever this many people are having this many problems, this is systemic. This is not like, you know, the one guy is like, you know, oh, this guy had a bad experience because there's some dumbass repair guy that messed it up. No, this is a systemic issue.
Your influence
And if I
is
know
noted.
anything about the way that
We
people
have a
think,
deal.
and the way that at
Hostile
least I
forces
know
have
people
arrived.
would people want
Easily
to
done.
they want to succeed in their job. They don't want to get fired. So I think that's what's happening. What do you guys think? Do you guys agree with
That's
that or
more
not?
like
Yeah,
it.
he's parsing on his job instead of doing the mechanics. Yeah, I think that's probably what's happening
Item
here.
complete, Commander.
And the thing is, like this, basically, it's an shitification, right? This is happening everywhere.
Comlink active.
It's happening with like therapy. It's happening with video game tickets. It's happening with making video games. It's happening with repairing PCs. It's happening with
Plotting
everything.
jump
Because
coordinates.
everything has to be turned into a quantitative value metric. And then whenever that happens, all of the context
Good
and
day,
nuance to those
Commander.
value metrics are removed. It's bad, man. If
Your
performance is not
plans.
valued, then it
Good
won't
day,
matter.
Commander. Control group
Exactly right.
created.
And
Our planet
oftentimes,
is
like,
under siege.
this is how it worked at the government. Is that quantity mattered more than quality. If your quality was low, but your quantity was high, it was okay. If your quantity was low, but your quality was high, it wasn't okay.
In that you sent it in with one
That's
problem
the
and
way
now
it
it
is.
suddenly got all these new problems you never noticed or heard about, and it just feels like a scam. So it's
We've lost
certainly
contact
structured
with one of our planets.
to encourage
What's the
acceptance from
plan?
people who don't
We'll
know
need to
better,
act fast.
and from people who feel
We
time
must
pressure
take
because
down
they put
the
you under
enemy
a lot of
or
time
die
pressure
trying.
to agree
Yeah.
to all
Wish
this
us
quickly,
luck.
lest you receive
Which
the
is this is a specific technique, is
Control
basically
group created.
putting the person who's signing the contract under duress. Very effective technique. It's been used for a very long time. That's why it's illegal.
device back in pieces. And we wondered what the damage could be. So ASUS sent us this photo of the damage. You might not be able to see it. Again, we have
I
to
can
check
see
our
it,
own
yeah.
photos to make sure they didn't cause it. But that microscopic
To be fair though, like I actually didn't see it until I put the circle around it.
thing
down,
was in
Commander.
fact from
What
us.
now?
And they wanted to
No
charge us
armor!
$200
We're
for
going
that
down.
thing.
Wow.
We didn't even ask them to fix
Prepare
that
to
part. We didn't even
engage,
notice
but
that
we might
part.
need
That's how
some
small
backup.
it was. Also,
Shields
they
down,
never
Commander.
addressed the
What
problem we
now?
sent it in for.
What's the plan?
Only that
We'll need
thing
to
that
act
they
fast.
decided to find.
This
to
won't be
us,
so
in
easy.
combination with the emails from our
No
viewers.
armor!
Because you think about it from that text
We're
perspective.
falling apart here.
He's looking
Need
around and he
immediate
sees that and he's
assistance.
like, Yes.
We're falling apart
Yes,
here.
I found something I
Need
can write this
immediate
off on.
assistance.
Okay, good.
Can we still
Okay,
turn the
user
tide in our
damage
favor?
and ticket
This
processed.
won't be
Done.
so easy.
Recent
That's
story about that
exactly what-
video
yeah,
card with
job's
the
done for the day,
insane
yep.
charge
Good.
related
There it
to a
is.
similar
We're going
problem.
down.
It
Prepare to
feels like
engage,
an
but we might
intentional
need some
attempt
backup.
or a policy
Shields
to
down, Commander.
mislead the
What
customers
now?
into a
This
position
won't be so
where they'll
easy.
pay for a service they don't
No.
need.
Yeah, that's what I think. I
We're
think it's not
falling
a
apart
policy.
here.
I think that it
Need
is
immediate
a
assistance.
performance metric
Good.
that is
We're going
directing
down.
people to behave this way.
Shields down, Commander.
it's-
What now?
You're
What's the
Because it's so
plan?
widespread.
We'll need to
It's
act
happening
fast.
everywhere.
and
Shields
you're
down,
not
Commander.
willing
What now?
or not sure
Plotting
you can stand
jump
up for
coordinates.
yourself.
It's the
Because
management's
it's
fault
trying
for
to sell
this, by
an
the way.
unneeded
No
fix. And if
armor.
Asus is worried about
Shouldn't expect
money
people
for
to
every ally,
Need
because
put the
immediate
integrity of their
assistance.
job
entire
over
motherboard
Explain,
and two
place a bid.
thumbsticks,
silly.
then
Control group
maybe this would be
created.
a way to help cover the
Comlink
cost. We don't know
active.
their
Yeah.
motives,
Yes,
but if I
Commander,
were to try
at
and think
once.
through reasons why you would do this, that'd be the first one I would assume. Now, back to the email, nowhere in it did Asus say it would fix the thumbstick for which we sent the device in. The best
Good
part is that
day,
in the
Commander.
background of Asus' own photo of damage, our own RMA form can be seen with the words
Easily
detailing
done.
the completely unaddressed thumbstick issue. Asus
So they
said
saw
the quote
it.
was delivered for an LCD module replacement at $98.53. Labor for
Good
that
day,
was
Think
Commander.
about how happy the tech
Control
was
group created.
that this thing was damaged. Think about how
Comlink
good his day
active.
was. The fact that, this was
Ready
supposed to be a
for
repair that
battle.
was supposed to take him 40 minutes. And then he could find a scratch and he's like, yes, bro.
Plotting jump coordinates.
Yes, I can write this one off. Oh, yay. He's probably so happy.
$60 and shipping was $20 because now they're claiming there's customer-induced damage, which
Easily
means that they
done.
can try and scam us out of another $20 for shipping instead of being forced to eat the cost for their own stick defect. That started this whole thing. So that's a clever way
Incredible.
to avoid paying the shipping cost. There's some tax in there too.
Asus
totaling
did this with my laptop.
$191 and 47 cents.
This is
At
too
this stage,
common
they
for it not
finally
to be
gave us the
systemic.
option to pay, reject,
too
or
common.
dispute. And once again, nowhere in there did it mention the original issue or the micro SD card issue that we knew existed but wasn't disclosed. Quote, please be advised that if payment is not received for repairs of the
Maximum
unit, the unit
civilian
will be
orbit
sent back
slots
unrepaired
reached.
and may be disassembled. The liquid damage may prevent our repair team from reassembling the unit for return. Where did the liquid damage come? That came out of no.
They might have just poured water on it.
Ready for
I
battle.
mean, who knows, right?
That's more like it. Plotting
knows?
jump coordinates.
Nowhere.
Just pour
Unless
some water on
Defense
the repair
upgrade
technicians are
complete.
drinking a little bit while waiting on it. That should explain a lot. That might explain most of this.
Military
But
structure
we
complete.
complete.
assume that
I don't
the liquid
know.
damage
Times
thing
of
is
war
part of this
are
particular
upon us.
email that they
Yes,
just send to
Commander,
anyone.
at
But
once.
that doesn't make it okay. It states the liquid damage in
You've
a
got the
very
full
matter
weights of a
way.
star base
And
at your
we think that is
disposal.
manipulative and accusatory. And this entire email reads to me like, if you ever want to see your ally again, pay us. Or
They have
it'll-
to do it with the different magazine letters for a ransom note. Like ASUS, Asus. Yeah, exactly.
we'll throw it through the window on your bed in pieces next time.
Yeah.
So the Godfather. I think
Civilian structure
Now, we have
complete.
a number of legal questions about this, and so I
the
can
voice
actually
is
use
gonna be in your
Rob
bed.
as if
Blood
you
on
knew
it,
anyone
yeah.
who could help inform us and educate the audience on your rights as a consumer.
Ready
Yeah.
for
warranties,
battle.
Louis
Magnuson-
Rossman's got a lot of videos.
Good
bro, this
day,
dude,
Commander.
Louis Rossman is
Civilian
the kind of
structure
guy
complete.
that was super
Easily
fucking
done.
paranoid and
That's
everybody
more
thought
like
he was
it.
an idiot for 10 years. And then after
Yes,
COVID,
Commander,
people
at
are like,
once.
oh man,
Ready
I was
for battle.
man, that's crazy because he
Times
said
of
that
war
shit. Yeah.
are upon us.
Moss, for example, is one of the commonly cited acts, and what else you might be able to do. It sounds like we're going to have a part 2 to this, and it'll be a pretty interesting one. But for now, we need to finish these emails. So, in the meantime, the rest of Asus's email said this, quote, please note that if no action is taken with this quotation, your product will be returned to you unrepaired after 5 business days from the invoice date, end quote. However, Asus
Easily
also
done.
says that acceptance of the quote is required
Item
in 3
complete,
days,
Commander.
and that the quote is only valid for 4 days. This creates intense pressure for the customer to accept because
Control
delays can
group
result in a
created.
disassembled
Yes,
box
Commander,
of scrap being
at
returned
once.
in the mail. Asus also doesn't even guarantee it'll work. They say, quote, any out-of-warranty repair fee prescribed by Asus and accepted by the customer is non-refundable and does not guarantee that repairs can be made. Continuing the timeline, we didn't respond for a few days. On April 22nd, we received a reminder that the invoice has been out.
And like, here's the thing: is I
for
bet
battle.
a lot of this
Easily
disclaimer,
done.
like warranty language,
That's
is
more
probably
like it.
common with almost every single type of manufacturer. But the difference is that
Comlink active.
for them, it's
Yes,
like
Commander, at
a
once.
fail-safe,
That's
and
more
it
like
seems
it.
like for Asus, it's like a
yes, Commander.
it's
at
like
once.
standard operating procedure. Like that's the
Ready
issue
for
because like if
battle.
a company has
Can I
this
do
policy
out?
language and then you're getting your stuff back, it's a to-do list. Yeah, exactly. And you're getting your stuff
active.
back. Well, then it's not a problem.
Standing for 2
Hostile
days now.
forces have
Asus
arrived.
again warns that the device will be returned unrepaired if we don't
Times
respond within
of
5 total
war
days,
are upon
even though
us.
the device has defects
Easily
that
done.
Asus caused with its own component choices.
Good day,
there is
Commander.
no presented option
Easily
to reject
done.
the unnecessary
For the home
paid for
world.
repair and accept only a free repair covered
That's
under their
more
own
like
explicit
it.
policy.
So
Fortunately,
it's like
Civilian
a
research
bundle
complete.
option. You only have
Yes,
to pay for
Commander,
both
at
repairs, so you
once.
can't get either one.
This shall
It
be
covers
our
their ass.
finest
Yeah, but the
hour.
difference is that cover your ass language and warranties and repair, repair language is
Insufficient
normal.
metal.
But what isn't normal is for the repair to be bad and for it not to happen. Again,
Ready
the
for
problem
battle.
isn't really the language, it's the fact that the repair didn't happen.
Control
Like,
group
if they
created.
had all this language and the repair happened, it would have been
Fire
no
at
issue.
will.
because their warranty policy is written and they are contradicting themselves, customers have some pretty substantial legal ammunition to be used against Asus. And we'll talk about that more in a little bit. On April 22nd, we issued an RMA dispute. The dispute only allows 100 characters, so you really don't have much room to defend your case. We tried
Smart.
to send more detail,
For the
but the
home
100
world.
character limit is pretty strict. To fully test Asus,
Wow.
our dispute was written with the
Keep in
Item
mind,
complete,
guys, that's
Commander.
less than a tweet. Tweets used to be 144 characters. So, in order for you to fully summarize the problem that you have with
This
your
shall be
electronic
our
device,
finest hour.
you have to do so as a
Fire
user
at
who is
will.
not fully familiar with technology in a lot of cases, because that's why you're sending it to them to fix it. 280? Yeah, well, they doubled it, right? But like it used to be 140 or like 144, it was 140, and then it was 280, and now it's like infinite, right? But like this is even smaller than the original size of a tweet.
tone of a frustrated, uninformed customer, so it's intentional to read like this. And we accused Asus of breaking our screen because their quote indicated a screen replacement, despite us sending it in with a functioning screen. The same day, Asus responded to the dispute with this, quote, our
For
service
the
team
home
found a
world.
case dent on your unit. The screen works fine. However, in order to replace the dent case, the whole LCD screen needs to be replaced as it is directly connected to the case. They are a whole part. Physical damage.
But nobody cared about the dent. That wasn't why they sent it. Well, but what about like the joystick? Because like the joystick. Guaranteed, bro. That tech was so happy whenever he could write this shit.
More crystal is needed.
Damage is excluded from the standard warranty
Maximum
coverage.
civilian
If you would
orbit
like to
slots
proceed
reached.
with service,
Let the
payment is
bidding
required.
commence.
Or we can proceed
Ready
warranty
for
repair
battle.
card reader joystick
Yes,
repair
Commander,
only,
at once.
and ignore the dent if you do not care about.
Okay.
End quote.
Okay,
On
that's
April
fine.
24th, we sent
That's
another
fine.
frustrated
Okay.
email and reply
Never mind.
and
Control
rejected
group
the screen
created.
replacement. The
Yeah,
same day, Asus sent us a second
Aye.
reminder that our RMA will be automatically rejected if we don't pay up immediately. That this
Ready
dispute
for
we
battle.
filed didn't
The
cause
strength of the coalition.
process of
Good day,
rejecting the
Commander.
RMA because
Hostile
they hadn't been
forces
paid
have
for yet
arrived.
is insane.
Fire
It's
at will.
manipulative.
Comlink active.
I don't know. I mean, this is so
Item
bad. Like, it's
complete,
really hard for me
Commander.
to say they're doing something like this on purpose. But to me, like, this just screams that Asus had process engineers that don't have
You won us
any
over
background
with
in
your
tech
fancy
repair
words. And
decide
you're
how
going.
fast everything should take.
You're fishing
and how much
for
time
a
everything
whale
should
with
take.
minnow bait.
That's what I think probably happened here.
It is overbearing, and it applies a huge amount of
Civilian
pressure
structure
to a
complete.
legitimate customer to
It does.
capitulate and pay lest they
Give me
risk
the
receiving the
fine
device
purchase.
unrepaired and potentially
No
disassembled.
refund.
Which is-
Again, like I
Civilian
just sorry, I
structure
pause a lot,
complete.
but like
No bid.
another big thing
You
with this is
missed
the fact
out.
that Asus makes
Comlink
computer
active.
components. They
Control group
they
created.
are the ones that
The
are selling
item
you
is
this
ready.
technology.
Ready
So
for
the people that are
battle.
buying the technology pre-assembled are generally people that are not extremely tech savvy.
Ready
Duh.
for battle.
Of course, it's the same thing with buying a pre-built PC or buying an Xbox or something
Good
like that.
day, Commander.
So all of this is being done to a group of people that categorically, just based off of the way that they're consuming your product, are going to be less likely to be informed or understand what they're making decisions on.
Ready for
Which is
battle.
what makes it even worse.
Yes, Commander. At once.
There was former Asus ROG buyer who did have to argue with RMA nonsense with leaking mercury in my laptop. Oh, hopefully it tasted good. The ROG branch is wrong here, and they're absolutely doing it with malice. Yeah.
In, Asus finally answers our question we've had this
An
whole time.
ally
They
has
say
lost a
they'll
star
repair
base.
the joystick
An
and
ally
confirm that
colony
it doesn't
has been
require
lost.
payment. They
Okay.
Can I
say,
do
quote,
out?
we have reached out
Good
to a repair
day,
team
Commander.
to request partial repairs, ignoring the case dent, end quote. After Asus told us this, we received another email that states this, quote, we received your service cancellation on your pending repair. We will proceed.
Times of war are upon us.
Wait, okay, so this is
Control
April
group
24th,
created.
7:41.
Easily done.
This is at 7:18 p.m.
Comlink active.
Okay, here's what I think could have happened. So if you look at regards, it says KDG, and this is a person who they had a response from. So they had a response from this individual. Then you look at this post
Good
right
day,
here.
Commander.
It says best
Control
regards,
group
Asus
created.
customer service.
Easily
So
done.
what are the odds?
Plotting
Maybe,
jump
right?
coordinates.
A lot of
Item
companies
complete,
do these
Commander.
things that are like effectively like an AI algorithm that as soon as it said, all I want
The
is this
item is
service, I
ready.
don't want this service,
Hostile forces
it
have
automated response, and then it just sent it back to them immediately. It says it's an automated message. Okay, yeah, there it is.
Your pending repair.
More
We
crystal
will
is
proceed with
needed.
returning your unit to you unrepaired.
I
end
should
quote.
I
And
should
the
have read, I should have just read it. But yeah,
RMA number that they showed in this email was the only one we were ever issued. There were not separate RMA numbers for the out of warranty and in warranty repairs.
Yeah.
It's now
Our
unclear
fleet
to
has
us
arrived
as
at a
well.
base
Yeah.
jump inhibitor
What the hell
and is
Asus
now
is even going
trapped.
to do at this point?
I will
It's
deliver
Schrodinger's
your
RMA.
order personally.
The device is both repaired and unrepaired as long as you don't open the box. We ignored that
For the
email and we
home
replied
world.
to the one prior that told us they'd
I'll
fix the
make short
joystick.
work
We
out of
replied
them.
with a simple okay, as there was no call to
Military
action. No
research
question.
complete.
The next day, Asus said this, quote, our team has indicated that
This
they are
shall
able to
be
proceed
our
with the repairs
finest
of your
hour.
product and ignore the
Fire
cosmetic
at will.
issues.
Great.
As such, we discarded the quotation and you will receive a system-generated cancellation response,
the home
which should be
world.
ignored as repairs will resume. Now, as a reminder, this came after they sent that response, so we were in a
this is
Good
actually
day,
a good this is a
Commander.
good response from Asus. I would say this is a good response.
period of confusion for about
Yeah.
a day. Finally, on April 26th, Asus says it generated a shipping label for return. We're still not sure if they fixed anything at this point. April 29th, it ships, and on May 4th, it's delivered to us. Asus provided this hard
This
copy.
shall
to
be
repair
our
for it.
finest
There's
hour.
no online version of this made available to us, which means that this is the first time in the entire process we have any indication that's what Asus actually did. And here's a quick clip of me and Patrick trying to decipher what it means.
So problems can't detect memory card. That's an issue we had. I don't know if you ever
Shields
told
down,
me that.
We
Commander.
did not tell them
What
about the SD
now?
card.
Connector broken. Also don't know what that's referencing.
No idea what that means. Everything, there were no broken connectors when we sent it in.
Comlink active.
Mechanical assembly problem.
Maybe the thumbstick.
System noise.
Okay, don't know what that means.
Yeah, gap abnormal.
What does it mean?
They had to
we
turn
had
down
taken
the
it apart
fan.
before, so
Yeah, but that was, I don't think I've like ever been more careful with a disassembly.
Ready
and
for
then
battle.
action. So they say
tape for system noise.
tape. Wait, okay, we'll have to
Mylar.
we'll inspect that. And then gap abnormal, mechanical, Mylar for assembly problem. And for the assembly problem, they
I put some tape on it.
expunged the parts.
Exchange.
Then they have I/O board for connector broke.
Oh God. I didn't even notice that.
Shields down, Commander! What now?
I can just imagine like like Patrick from SpongeBob. He's like the guy
I'll make
that does
short
this.
work out of them.
Con for connector broken.
You
So
know?
things a con, and then main board for
That's it.
can't detect memory card. Wait, what the fuck?
So all of these are the in warranty.
Hello, is
repairs
this
that were
Asus?
done,
No, this is Patrick.
because
Goodbye.
they have
Insufficient
a note
metal.
here that we denied the screen replacement.
Yes, we denied the unnecessary.
Oh, there
screen
it is.
replacement. So here's the quick recap. The motherboard,
Insufficient
both I/O
metal.
boards, and both joysticks were replaced as part of the repair. On the report, these are all marked as ECN, which we think stands probably for Engineering Change Notice. This to us would
Comlink
imply that
active.
Asus is replacing
I'll
these
make this
components
short
as part of
and
standard
sweet.
practice when any ally comes in from
Start
at least
making your
2023.
dinner plans.
What's really unclear
This won't
is that their
take long.
RMA language
That probably makes sense. Yeah, because they could be defective parts that, yeah.
says that it's covered
I could see
under
that.
Targets
40
in
Asus
sight.
or the ally. This is
Let's
parenthetically
take 'em out.
2023. That is not a model. That doesn't exist. The only thing that exists is
I'll make this
customer
short
damage,
and
is
sweet.
the RC71L. There's no year signifier on it. Now,
Place
we're to give them some
your
leeway,
bids,
maybe what they mean is
scallywags.
manufactured in 2023. So it seems like they
Military
might be just
research
replacing
complete.
all those boards,
Civilian
or maybe
structure
those within a certain
complete.
serial range. If that's true, it sounds like a soft recall that should have probably been turned into a real recall a long time ago, or at least done with active outreach to the customer. Now, barely more than a week ago, The Verge directly asked to Asus, quote, has Asus actually found a hardware fix for the faulty SD card readers? If someone RMAs their ally to Asus this way, will they get an SD card reader that no longer fails? To which Asus responded, quote, our commitment is to assist all...
Easily done.
This is a yes or no question. There's too many words. Uh-oh.
customers effectively.
Yeah.
If any user suspects they're encountering issues with their products, we encourage them to reach out and make use of our RMA process as needed. They can expect us to provide a suitable resolution.
Yeah.
In other words,
Yeah.
To translate corpo speak, no.
No.
They haven't found a solution, because
Comlink
if they
active.
had, they would have said
This
yes.
shall be
It's
our
really that, it's
finest
like,
hour.
It's as simple as an if-then statement. If the answer
You
isn't
obedient
equal to yes,
scurvy dog.
it is no.
Then it's a
Doesn't
paragraph,
matter what
yes.
they say
War
after.
are upon us.
Asus
Ready
did fully
for
repair our
battle.
ally.
That's
That includes
more like
both
it.
the stick issues
Comlink
and
active.
the unmentioned
Control
micro SD
group
card
created.
issue.
Fire at
We'll see
will.
if it fails again.
Ready
That
for
required
battle.
replacing basically the
Yes,
whole system.
Commander,
The
at
APU,
once.
the SoC, the Wi-Fi card, all of the VRM components, all the MOSFETs, inductors, capacitors, everything that's on the board, all of it.
Easily done.
And it was only done after we fought them over a manipulative repair process that in the early stages of it, up until we finally got a resolution, it feels like it tries to guide customers into just accepting a $200 fee for the world's tiniest plastic divot. To replace the board and the sticks,
For the whole
is-
world.
Yeah, it's definitely designed in a way that a person who's not like anybody who's like kind of like borderline tech illiterate is going to be sending them $200, which is like,
Good day,
is
Commander.
that predatory?
Fire at
I
will.
think we can talk about that and maybe have a debate about it. But one thing that I can definitely say it's not good for the customer. It's absolutely not good for the customer. And it's bad customer service.
The device. In fact, one of the only things they haven't replaced at this point is the screen, which is interesting because that's what they were trying to charge us to replace. Those
Good
are some
day,
expensive
Commander.
repairs, and if Asus
Yes,
is having to
Commander,
do those
at
repairs
once.
on all 2023 allies,
Item complete,
it may
Commander.
explain why the Ally X hardware that they just announced was announced at all, and why Asus is uncomfortably squirming in a new interview with The
This
Verge.
shall
Quote,
be our
and while
finest
Asus
hour."
still won't admit that the Ally's SD card reader ever had any fault, The Verge says, it tells me it's the same exact SD card reader it uses in its laptops, and says it doesn't believe any issues actually had to do with overheating.
the Ally X will have a rearranged motherboard
Ready
layout
for
that sounds like
battle.
it'll move it away from the system's vents.
So there's nothing wrong with it, but we decided to just randomly change the way that the internal architecture for the system was to move the thing that there was a problem with away from something that caused it to heat up. Yeah, but no, there was nothing wrong with it. It's a coincidence. Yeah, we decided to redesign the architecture for the entire machine. Just, you know, I mean, why not, right?
That's more like it.
Of Asus
Shields
to the
down,
Verge, they
Commander.
said we
What
don't
now?
want people to think
Comm
that's
link
what we had to do.
active.
We had to
Yes,
move things around
Commander,
the board
at
to make
once.
them fit. It was just like, I
No
can't believe someone
armor!
who works for the company said
Shields
that on the
down,
record and got
Commander.
quoted.
What now?
That is probably the most defensive response
For
I've
the
ever
home
seen
world.
something like this in the press. Where they're like,
This
yeah,
shall
we moved
be
everything
our
and it's
finest
not
hour.
where the hot stuff
We're
is
falling apart
anymore.
here. Need
We're gonna do
immediate
that anyway. We
assistance.
don't want people to think
Ready
we're doing that
for
to fix
battle.
the issue, because then
Research
issue?
rig
what
upgrade
exactly
complete.
is the downside
Fire
of
at
people
will.
thinking it was to
Good day,
fix an
Commander.
issue?
For
Because
the
then
home world.
they would be
Good.
acknowledging
We're
that there
going
was
down.
an issue.
Give
Maybe
me a
Asus said something
target.
contradictory to that fire.
Military research
I think they
complete.
did actually. That might be the downside.
Yeah.
And if we hadn't pushed back and we
Ready
hadn't
for
documented our
battle.
device carefully
That's
and
more
exercised
like
some
it.
basic rights, it is possible that Asus
I'll
could
make
have
short
twisted
work
this
out of them.
and either
Good
made us pay
day,
$200
Commander.
or put us in a
Yes,
position
Commander,
where as a
at
customer you
once.
feel like you have to.
Easily
The mark
done.
that Asus used
Comm
to
link
justify a new
active.
screen was a
This
side
shall
effect
be our
of us
finest
opening
hour.
the Ally to
Ready
the SSD
for battle.
anyway, because
That's
they say
more
that
like
they
it.
can't guarantee
Comm
data will
link
stay on
active.
there. So claiming customers
I'll
use
make
damage to
short
that
work
mark
out of them.
could be a makeshift
Good day,
warranty void of a
Commander.
good sticker without saying it. In other words, the customer appears to have opened
Fire
the
at
device, so reject the claim. And if that's the
Oh.
case, that's where Rossman thinks, to
Yeah.
quote him, it might be a bullshit way. Can you tell Lewis said it? To skirt the Magnuson-Moss Act.
Ready
And
for
we'll have
battle.
more about that in
Shields
probably
down,
a part
Commander.
2,
What
where we're going
now?
to be speaking with some
Yes,
experts
Commander.
on the
At
matter of all
once.
of this. But for part 1,
No
a couple
armor!
takeaways. First of all, you can file FTC complaints, I've learned. There's a way to do this.
Item
I'll link the
complete,
form below
Commander.
for you. Some really basic stuff you fill in. But if
And this is the thing, is like, while I still, like, I still hold the position that I don't think Asus is doing this on purpose. It's
Good
just
day,
the natural
Commander.
outcome
No
of
armor!
hyper-optimizing a process
Easily done.
and then putting that quantitative metric
That's
on every
more
single
like it.
individual technician. I think this
Yes,
is a
Commander,
natural
at
outcome
once.
from that behavior. However, this is what's very important. Whenever your customer service functions like a scam,
Shields down, Commander. What
oh, well,
now?
we weren't trying to scam you. Yeah, well, you just did it accidentally, though. So, while, like, I'm talking about, like,
That's
you know,
more
what I
like
think
it.
is going on in their head, but the functional difference is non-existent. It is functionally the same thing.
company,
The intent
Asus
doesn't
or
matter.
otherwise,
Yeah. Even though I think that's not
screws
what the
you
intent was.
in a warranty process in
Or
a
I'm
way
not
which
certain.
is unfair or potentially fraudulent, then there's actually a form that, from what Louis Rossman was telling me, and from what some of his
Ready
associates
for
will speak with
battle.
soon
Mm-hmm.
were telling me, it sounds like the FTC takes that very seriously now. My understanding is that the
They
fine
should.
is up to
Shields down, Commander.
$37,000
What
per
now?
occurrence. This
Good
whole
day,
situation, this is
Commander.
unbelievably
Yes, Commander,
anti-consumer.
at once.
I,
Comm link
at this point,
active.
have absolutely
Ready
no
for
tolerance
battle.
for Asus's
That's more like
behavior
it.
with this stuff, because last year we covered it extensively. If you remember the end of that series, it was not quite positive, but it was going from extremely negative up to
Comm
neutral.
link
It was on an
active.
uptrend. The
Control
reason is,
group created.
at the end of the whole series,
Easily
Asus's
done.
then PR
We're falling
person
apart
sent
here.
me
Need
a
immediate
10-point
assistance.
plan where they said,
Plotting
here's what
jump
we're going to improve
coordinates.
point by point.
That's more
and
like
it
it.
actually was pretty good. And so at
Great.
that point, we reported it. We said, this sounds good.
Awesome.
But we don't know. We need to wait and see, because it
What's
takes
the
time with all
plan?
these changes.
We'll
We
Yeah,
have to
that guy got
fast.
fired, probably.
This won't be so easy.
revisit it and test it again.
Yeah, he's
that PR
gone.
person has since quit their job and gone to a different company that as I understand,
Insufficient metal.
like working for more, which is also telling for the whole Asus situation. And
That's
we're now 1 year later. Asus has had time to make these changes, and they're still doing the same bullshit.
Right.
So, at some point, it starts to look like it's policy, and not
Yeah,
like
it is
it's
policy.
oopsies.
It is.
We happen to screw up on specifically
Yeah,
your
it's the
thing.
policy 100%.
And so, I think for us, my conclusion to this is pretty simple. First of all,
If you've had an Asus warranty problem, we want to hear about it. Email us at tips, T-I-P-S, at gamersnexus.net. We already have at least dozens, if not multiple hundreds of emails from people, but we'd still like some more. So send them over with as much
Insufficient
documentation
metal.
as you have. Photos,
More
the
crystal is
emails,
needed.
the chat logs. If we use any of it, we'll redact
Place
it.
your bids,
We
you
may contact you, so send that
scurrylards.
over to us. And then additionally, my note to all of you, whether you buy motherboards or allies or whatever, we've now seen this in two
Good
areas.
day, No, you're right,
Prices,
brother.
Motherboards and allies. That's what I have personally experienced with them. There's plenty of posts online. People have laptop problems. There's the video card one that blew up in the news this past week.
Comlink
And
active.
I think my statement's pretty simple. If you
Good day,
value customer
Commander.
service and you think you will ever need help with the device,
For the
don't
home
buy
world.
Asus. Unfortunately, I don't know that I have a recommendation for an alternative for things like motherboards and video cards. I think what you do is you have to buy the thing you think is the least likely to cause you a need to have support.
Exactly, yeah.
But hopefully, if enough people
not even
are
a
vocal
question.
about this and it goes beyond sort of YouTube rage bait, and we can actually start getting some policy involvement, which is the reason I contacted Louis Rossman to talk to people he knows. Hopefully, there's actual change here, and I'm actually somewhat optimistic about it because there's some people who sound very informed on all of this, and like they might be able to make something happen in this industry as well as the ones they've already been working in. So that's it for this one. Unbelievably bad experience with Asus. If nothing
I
else is
do
taken
out?
away from this,
I wouldn't say it would
takeaway
be
that Asus
unbelievable.
warranty service is
Ready
absolute
for
trash
battle.
But
in
yeah.
our experience, and
I
we
could
cannot
believe
recommend
this
them
pretty easy.
if you think you will ever need it. So that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more. Grab this shirt on store.gamersnexus.net if you want to support our efforts directly, and we'll see you all next time.
Okay, so I'll talk about this for a couple of minutes. So I think what happened is that they have some form. So especially based off of the way that Asus explained their technician repair process in the emails between them and Gamers Nexus, what they basically said is that I bet
Times
that
of
the
war
technician
are upon
repair
us.
then goes to, like, after that technician closes that ticket, then it goes back to the customer. And then if the customer returns it again, it goes to a third party, and then it will go to a second, probably, or just another technician instead to fix the return problem for the
Insufficient
second
metal.
time. So what that indicates to me is that technicians that work at
Comlink
the company
active.
are probably
Control
heavily
group
incentivized to
created.
kick the can
This
down the
shall
road,
be our finest
basically, right,
hour.
which is the PC, and or this thing here, and give this problem to somebody else. It is in their best interest to look for a reason why there's something that's damaged with this product and then send it back. And I think the reason for that is because of the system,
Insufficient metal.
right? It's because of the system that they work in. They have some sort of quantitative measuring statistic for what evaluates their performance on their job, and that statistic is somehow
Item
gained
complete,
by
Commander.
identifying small amounts of damage and then returning the product immediately. And why do I think that? The reason why I also think that, beyond the fact that everybody has these in their jobs, they're called KPIs,
Times
there's even
of
an acronym
war
for
are
it,
upon us.
is because it's
We have
happened
wiped
to
out
so
an
many other
enemy
people.
colony.
So many other people have had different variants of the same thing happen. That's a lot of
Ready
points
for
on a
battle.
graph, and that is a very, very, very long line. That's
Good
what I think
day,
is happening.
Commander.
Think, Yeah, I think. This is
Yes,
my opinion. This is a
Commander,
great
at
video,
once.
by the way. Amazing video.
Comlink
Yeah, make sure to
active.
give it a like. This was good. Dent equals bricked. Yeah. They're just trying to min-max badly. Again, if you give people tools that turn their job into a game, don't be surprised whenever they stop doing their job and they start playing the game. That is what happened. That, in my opinion, is 100% what happened. And I hope that Asus, like, here's the truth. I hope that obviously Asus, the people that are running the company, look at this and they
Item
take
complete,
it seriously.
Commander.
Because this is dramatically damaging their
A new
brand. Like
colony
this
has
is
been
Asus
founded.
is like
That's
what,
more
100,
like it.
$200 million company.
Good
It's a
day,
massive company,
Commander.
probably more than that even. Like you are ruining your company by letting people that don't understand your job dictate your KPIs. This is their system. It's a $2 billion. Oh my God, I didn't realize it was that big. Holy shit. Well, I guess they must be international, so that makes sense. Their handheld was already struggling, and now it's going to be over. Yeah, I mean, Asus market cap is over 340 billion. There's no way. I mean, 10.7 plus ass, $10 billion company.
Comlink
That is terrible.
active. Military
So,
research
if,
complete.
and also, I think, by the way, the
Additional
larger a
credits
company
required.
is, the more likely something like this is to occur. Because once you get so big,
Ready
you end
for
up having
battle.
people that are so
Yes,
disconnected
Commander,
from
at
the
once.
actual process of work that you have people that are just making decisions for something that's totally unrelated. Because things become more and more abstract as you're dealing with larger and larger scale. So yeah, 10 layers of management.
Item
That's what I'm
complete,
thinking.
Commander.
This is
Mining
really
upgrade
bad. It makes them
complete.
look awful, and I hope they realize what they're doing wrong. Yeah, the company is segments, not a whole.
Ready
Well,
for
this segment
battle.
certainly isn't working. It sure
Easily
seems like a lot of their
done.
customer service segments are really bad. True, I worked at a Fortune 500 company. This is true. Yeah, I mean, it's just, and again, like, I'm guessing it's just logic, right? I mean, so I could be wrong about, like, I think probably realistically,
Control
I'm probably
group
wrong about a
created.
couple of points that I
That's
have, but
more
I
like
think that
it.
the general gist of, like, where this problem is coming from is probably accurate. I don't think that Asus is, I don't think that they are intentionally trying to scam people. I think that they are doing it as an outcome of their own negligence. That's basically what I think. So yeah, I'll link the video again. Make sure to give it a like. Gamers Nexus is probably one of the best tech channels on YouTube.
Good day, Commander.
You gotta keep sending back laptops because fuck
Yes,
it. That's
Commander.
why. Yeah, exactly.
At once.
The Starforge use Asus Mobos. I'd have to look. I think that like if we do, we'd probably have to look and
Planet
see
item
why.
complete.
You know the thing with us, right, is like if you
Expand
RMA a
and
Starforge,
exterminate.
like it goes
Control
back to
group
us,
created.
right? It doesn't go to
Your
Asus.
orders.
So I'd have to go and look and see. So that wouldn't actually be a problem for like
An
us specifically.
auction is
But
underway.
I think if you're buying a specific part, then it would be an issue. Yeah, it's a failure of policy, exactly.
So be it. Ready to pack a punch.
What went wrong with
We'll
gaming?
see it
They've been my main
done.
hobby for most of my life. I love video games. They've been my main hobby for most of my life, and now I make videos about video games.
Civilian
which is
structure
great.
complete.
But recently, I've been analysing new games and critiquing new systems, and I've
Logistics
noticed a slow
upgrade
but
complete.
insidious trend toward games becoming more and more monetized, but not fairly monetized.
Of course not. Because if they were fairly monetized,
Control
then people
group
wouldn't want
created.
to buy them. People
Your
want to buy
orders.
the unfair advantage.
Control group created.
Player
Civilian
monetized.
structure
It's
complete.
the feeling you get when you look at a battle pass in a game you've already paid full price for. It's the tiny slither of sadness when a game you want has different exclusive levels for different consoles, and you'll know you'll never get to experience
More
every
crystal
part
is
of that
needed.
game now. It's that
They had the same thing. I remember with Soul Calibur in like the GameCube era. Like the
Comlink
GameCube version
active.
had a link, and I think that
Easily
the
done.
Xbox and
You have
PlayStation 1
secured
had
the
different exclusive
auction.
characters too. Like this is not something that's new, but it's something that's much more common.
cosmetic you want, costing 1,005 gems, but the
Entering
gems are sold in packs
space.
of 1,004.
Insufficient metal.
It's
Yeah.
the knowledge that year on year, the microtransactions from
Commerce
FIFA
upgrade
Ultimate
complete.
Team alone make
Ready
more
for
money than
battle.
Elden Ring's entire sale run.
Control
It's the
group
unfortunate-
Wait, let's hear
created.
that again, boys. Let's hear that one more time. Who fucking wants to hear how gaming is
Our fleet
nowadays?
has
Let's
arrived
go.
at the face jump inhibitor and is now
It's
trapped.
the knowledge that
The
year on year,
item
the
is ready.
microtransactions from
Our
FIFA
cannon
Ultimate
is
Team
itching for a
alone
target.
make more money
We'll
than
destroy
Elden
every
Ring's
last
entire
one of
sale
them.
run. It's the
Your orders.
Fucking hell. Yeah,
Civilian
Wow.
structure complete.
it's depressing. Yeah, it is.
unfortunate reality of
Military
gaming after
research
the marketing
complete.
executives took over. And it's hard to explain exactly how or when it changed,
Shields
but
down,
explaining
Commander!
things is what I
What
do. So
now?
let's go back to the
Okay.
start of gaming and work out when this whole mess started. And then I'll actually pinpoint the exact thing, the specific design.
Is it gonna be the horse in Oblivion? I bet it's gonna be
An
the horse in
ally has
Oblivion
lost
or
the
something
starbase.
like that.
An
choice
ally
which
colony
makes
has
new
been
games
lost.
We'll
feel
see.
wrong. Welcome, I'm Josh
Civilian
Lopez.
structure
Let's work out what the
complete.
hell went wrong with the monetization of gaming. As usual, a massive thank you
Commerce
to all the
upgrade
supporters
complete.
on Patreon, Twitch, and YouTube who keep the channel alive.
Ready
More information
for
on how you
battle.
can support at the
That's
end.
more
For now,
like it.
Let's begin. Let's go back to the 1980s and early 1990s. The video game revolution
Item
was kicking
complete,
its beginning.
Commander.
Let's go back.
I had this game on my calculator, and I would have people pay me because we had to clear our calculators every like Tuesday for tests, and I had 2 calculators,
No
and I would have people
armor!
pay me every
Insufficient
Wednesday
metal.
to recopy Asteroids and Doom onto their TI-84 calculators, and I would get like a quarter for it every single time, man. Those were the good days.
Back to the 1980s and early 1990s. The video game revolution was kicking off, but home consoles weren't yet mainstream.
Grind
so
never
we went to
stops, that's
arcades.
right.
You put your money in and played a game, effectively making arcades the socially accepted pay-to-play model. There's no denying arcades were bloody expensive. I remember dropping way more than
Civilian
I should have
structure
during the time
complete.
crisis, but while this was expensive, there was a very simple relationship between the game, the
Civilian
money, and
structure
the player.
complete.
Pay money, get access
Ready
to the
to
whole game.
pack a
Victory
punch.
depends on your skill.
Control
Game
group
designers knew
created.
it was a simple transaction,
Entering
and they knew
phase
someone would simply
space.
play as long as they were able to, so they had to
So
make the
be
game
it.
hard so you would die more, and so pay more. This is why the Turtles
This is the best example of this is the Lion King on
Mining
Super
upgrade
Nintendo.
complete.
Is that the people that made it went on record and they said, "We're sorry, we made this game so hard, so you had to rent it twice."
game
I'm
has
not
that
kidding.
underwater bit. It's why House of the Dead bosses were damage sponges. It's why Ghosts and Goblins was everything that Ghosts and Goblins
was
is.
brutal.
In the early days of home consoles, when people would rent games, we even called difficult levels blockbuster levels, designed to make the rental period longer, and so you'd have to keep renewing it. So
I don't remember that term, but okay.
why don't these money-hungry
good.
games
Item
make us feel the
complete,
same way as
Commander.
modern money-hungry games? Well, it's because the trade of money for game was simple. and there was
Civilian
no-
I think
Structure
another
complete.
reason why it was okay is because we were kids and we didn't spend all of our time thinking about it. Like, for example, now we always think about like all
Your
of this stuff.
orders.
It's like hyper analyzed. And back then, we never thought about this shit at all. We were just like, oh, new game, buy game. That's it. There was no thinking whatsoever. It's unironically, ignorance is bliss.
Insidious about the transaction itself. You knew what you were giving, and you knew what you were getting. And if you were to break down the design time of a game into a pie chart at that point, it might look something like this. Story, graphics, narrative connections between them, mechanics, marketing...
I'm gonna be honest, like, except for the fucking Squaresoft games, this fucking pie part is not there in any of the other
Defense
games.
upgrade complete.
Like, there are so many of the
item
games,
is
it's
ready.
like,
We
you
have
know,
wiped out
fucking
an
like
enemy
Duke
colony.
Nukem.
Ready
The
to
president's
pack a
been
punch.
kidnapped. Are you
I will
bad enough
deliver
dude
your
to
order
rescue the
personally.
president?
A new colony
Let's
has been
find out.
founded.
There it is. All right, that's it. That's all there is to it. And maybe you hook up with a girl in like the third,
Insufficient metal.
this third
Our
level,
cannon
and that's
is
it.
itching for a
It was the
target.
first arcade game you ever
We'll
played.
see it
I
done.
played Gauntlet. That was my first ever arcade game that I played. I played it at Chuck E. Cheese, and I was so young that I would shoot the food with other people that would play with my mom and I. And I could use the excuse that I was so young that I didn't know what I was doing. But I did. Bro, I knew
Insufficient
exactly what I
metal.
was doing.
Place your bids, you scallywags.
testing, and then how much a go at
Ready
the
to
arcade
pack a
costs. There was a
punch.
lot going on in the development of a game at these times.
Yeah, the other ones that I remember so well, I remember
You
the
don't have to
Jurassic
tell
Park,
us
the
twice.
rail shooter. I remember playing that for like an hour at Chuck E. Cheese. I remember obviously the Simpsons game, and then there was also the
space.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. And I
Military
always liked
research
Galaga,
complete.
the one where you're like in the ship and you can like fly around. Metal Slug, yes, yes. I remember
Commerce
I played that at
upgrade
Blazer Laser
complete.
Tag. Oh fuck, man. Yeah, I think those were the ones that I really liked. Those are the ones I went hard as fuck on.
But
Civilian
it's all
structure
focused on
complete.
making a game good, because at
Right.
that time, good games make the most money. When a company discovered a successful game, they couldn't just augment the original with downloadable content or extra levels, because that technology didn't exist yet. They'd have to make a complete sequel,
Additional
and so gamers
credits
got
required.
more games. Jump forward to the mid-1990s, the home console market had taken off. You buy a console, you buy a game, and then you play that game. Now, the whole live
Insufficient
mechanic
metal.
in games at this time
You
was a
were outbid,
holdover
you
from the
scurvy
arcade design
dog.
space and wasn't actually needed in home consoles because you didn't need the player to put more money in. Dying when you have
Well,
three lives.
I think obviously there was a certain element of skill to it where like you get better at, for example, whenever you'd play Castlevania or you play Mario Brothers, you lose all of your lives and then you get better at repeating the old levels. But yeah, definitely he's right.
then restarting from your last save, or just dying and restarting from the save anyway with no arbitrary life limit, was functionally the same thing, but design moves slowly.
Maximum
With the
civilian
arcade
orbit
model,
slots
you no longer
reached.
paid per play, and you now paid per game, and you then played as much as you wanted. Games
Right.
were expensive, of course, but when you bought a game, it was complete. If it
Games
shipped
were actually quite expensive back in the day. People might not remember this, but like video games back in the 90s were like $40 and $50. $50 in 1999 was a lot of fucking money, man.
shipped with bugs, it would just have bugs forever. If it shipped with secret unlockable stuff, it would have that forever. When you owned the game, you owned the ability to play as much as you want of the complete experience. And this was a very simple and fair transaction.
Yes.
While the arcade was, here's a game, pay us to have a go, the console was, here's a game, pay us to keep it and play it whenever. But the home gaming scene wasn't just consoles, it was also PCs. Now, back then PC gaming wasn't as mainstream as it is today, but it did come with one major advantage.
PC gaming was actually